Representative Jimenez.
Morning po.
Prayer. You can start the prayer, sir.
Yes, praise and thank you, Father, for today, for the gift of life, and for the blessing that you entirely give each one of us. As we carry out our mission for today, we seek for your guidance to lead us resolve the challenges that we face as a nation. We lift up to you today's hearing, that we may be able to discuss issues as true statesmen. We ask for enlightenment that we may truly address these concerns, aware of the role that the nation expects from us. In, in supplication, we moreover lift up to you our resource persons, that they may be guided in imparting their knowledge to leading us towards the resolution of the issues. We pray for the physical strength of our staffs, for the health and safety of everyone, and that each of our family members. All this we ask in the mighty name of your Son Jesus, to the intercession of the Blessed Mary. Amen.
Please remain standing for the singing of the national anthem.
Bayang magiliw, perlas ng silanganan, alab ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig, di ka pasisiil, sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong bughaw, may dilag ang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kislap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagniningning, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng luwalhatit pagsinta, buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya na pag may mga api, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
We will now call on the members for their attendance. Is there motion to dispense? Mr. Chair, I move that we dispense with the calling of the roll. Is there any second? There is a motion to dispense with the calling of the roll of members. Duly seconded. Hearing no objection, the motion is carried. I direct the committee secretary to call of names of members present today here and on Zoom from SEC.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, and to our honorable members and guests. We are joined today here at the House of Representatives, our Deputy Speaker, Rodante Marcoleta, and our Vice Chairperson, David J. Suarez. By Zoom, we are joined by the Vice Chairperson, Johnny Chiquintel, Deputy Speaker, Rosemary Baby Arenas, Deputy Speaker, West Gatchalian, Representative Cesar Jimenez, and Representative Claudine Diana Bautista.
Next item in the agenda is reading of minutes of the committee hearing held on September 20. The minutes of the meeting was emailed to the committee members for their reading and perusal. Is there any motion to dispense with reading and approval of the same?
So move, Mr. Chair.
Is there any second? Second, Mr. Chair. There is a motion to dispense with the reading of minutes of meeting held September 20, 2021 and for its approval. The motion is duly seconded. Hearing no objection, it is carried. Good morning, honorable members of the House of Representatives, cabinet secretaries, public officials, members of the media, and our viewers, mga kababayan online. This is the third hearing on the motu proprio inquiry on the COA report on the alleged overpriced medical and health equipment procured by the DOH for the COVID-19 response. Once again, we wish to thank the honorable House members and our resource persons who attended our last hearing. We thank Health Secretary Francisco Duque, Secretary Carlito Galvez, COA Chairman Michael Aguinaldo, PSDBM former Undersecretary Lloyd Lau, former Deputy Ombudsman, present Deputy Ombudsman Warren Yong, as well as DPA Assistant Secretary Anne Claire Cabuchan, and officials of PSDBM, GPPB, and DIR. We also appreciate the attendance and participation of officials from Raleigh Pharmaceuticals for shedding light on these most important matters. Today, we continue our quest in fleshing out the truth without political bias or agenda. Since our second meeting last Monday, I have been interviewed and invited to speak on our crusade in determining the truth. I remain steadfast and strong in my position that the House Blue Ribbon Committee shall serve as the beacon of truth and justice, free from any external influence. This committee is focused solely on bringing out the truth, on whether there is malfeasance, misfeasance, or non-feasance committed by government officials and to private individuals in conspiracy with government officials. Do not get me wrong. I do not want the Senate hearings to stop. To the credit of my fellow parliamentarians, the Senate has been working hard. However, it is my humble preference for our good senators to be fair in conducting their investigation, not to bully witness, and not to let witnesses speak freely. And in our last hearing, it was clear in the conduct of our inquiry that we shall not be allowing questions that are out of context, not within the scope of this inquiry, to remove any discretion or opportunity to bully our resource persons. We hope our honorable House members and our kababayans will understand that this is not a witch hunt. This is not a fishing expedition. Rather, this is a congressional inquiry done in the most professional manner, in strict observance of the House rules and parliamentary courtesies, as duly elected legislators of the Republic of the Philippines. Together with our Honorable Speaker, Lord Alan J. Velasco, this committee is determined on expeditiously resolving the matter at hand. However, due to equally urgent meetings and House members need to focus on the ongoing budget deliberations, this committee shall continue only up to 2 p.m. today. As such, we may be holding another hearing on this matter on October 4, 2021. Maraming salamat po and good morning po sa inyong lahat. Comsec, can you please inform the committee of the persons of responded to our invitation?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In today's meeting, we are graced with the following resource person. From the Commission on Audit, we have the chairperson, Attorney Michael Aguinaldo. From DOH, we are graced by the Secretary, Mr. Francisco Duque III.
Present, Mr. Chairman, Your Honors. Present, sir.
And he is joined by DOH Undersecretary Maria Carolina Vidal Carlos. We also have the OIC of BBM, Undersecretary Tina Rose Marie Alcanda.
Present, Your Honor.
Also from BBM, we have USEC Tim Robert Villan.
Present.
From the NTF, we have Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr.
Present, sir.
And he is assisted by Director Teresa Cruz. We are also joined by the DSC Commissioner Ray Leonardo Guerrero, Deputy Ombudsman Warren Yong, PSBBM former Undersecretary of BBM and Head of the PS Procurement Service, Attorney Lloyd Liao. We also have from DTI, Assistant Secretary Anne Claire Cabuchan. From the DOH,
Morning, Your Honor.
from DOH Procurement Service, we have Attorney Paul Gimbarda. We are also joined by the Undersecretary of DOH, Mirna Kabutahe, and DOH Director Gloria Balboa. We have DOH SFEP Director Yanita Gogolan. From Field Rep, we are joined by Jorge Mendoza III.
Present, Your Honor.
USDBM Joshua Laure. We are also joined by FDA.
Present, Your Honor.
We are also joined by FDA Director General Eric Domingo. From formally, we are joined by the president, the president, Mr. Huang Chu Yen, and Mr. Mohit Dargani.
Present, Mr. Chairman.
From EMS, we have the president, Ferdinand Ferrer.
Good morning, present, Your Honors.
From DBM, DLO Dian Tabatana. DBM OOP, PD Carlo Miguel Centeno. DBM Paul Vincent. DOH FICC Jan Yabado. We also have the Director for Customer Service DBM, Director Jolas Brutas, DBM Jane Abelia, and from the Asian Consulting Group, Mr. Mon Abrea, Your Honors.
Present, Your Honor.
Address to Director Lincoln Ong and Ms. Christian Margo of Family.
Are
We haven't
are
returned-
they present today? Are they on board?
We haven't received any feedback for our invitation.
They're not online, but I believe, Mr. Chair, they have been invited since the start of our hearing. And may I move that they be subpoenaed, Mr. Chair, so they can also appear before us because there are several questions that we need to ask and for them to explain. I think C.S. Marcoleta, that since the Senate are co-equal body, has the custody of Lincoln Ong because he was sent to the Pasay City Jail. I would extend that courtesy to the Senate that we write a letter that they arrange, since Lincoln Ong is under custody of the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee. I direct the committee secretary to write a letter and I will sign it to produce Lincoln Ong via Zoom. They should arrange it. If they do not want to grant us access to Lincoln Ong, giving respect to us, they must arrange the Zoom in a facility that can accommodate the Zoom connection to make Lincoln Ong present on October 4, 11 a.m. I so direct the committee secretary. As for Ms. Mago, I was informed, I read in the news clippings that she went into hiding or not answering her cell phone. She turned it off. So I think we should again consult with the other members if we should issue a subpoena because that requires two-thirds, I think two-thirds vote and the signature of the approval of the speaker. So we have to consult first because by myself I cannot order it, unlike the Senate Blue Ribbon. Yes, Vice Chair J.J. Suarez.
Mr. Chair, insofar as Ms. Mago is important to this committee hearing, given that she holds vital information to the facts, I move that we subpoena Ms. Mago and the same be provided to the members of this committee so that we may reach the required number of two-thirds.
I stand corrected. It's simple majority for a subpoena.
So simple majority then, Mr. Chair, so that we can have her here and she can answer clarificatory questions regarding this issue. To move the system.
Is there any second?
Second the motion.
The motion to bring and issue a subpoena ad testificandum to Ms. Cristel Mago is hereby approved. We will vote via Zoom, via Viber group of the Blue Ribbon Committee. Please register your votes in 20 minutes or 40 minutes. We will count them for the issuance only for Ms. Cristel Mago of a subpoena ad testificandum. I so approve it upon the majority vote and approval of the speaker. May I remind those resource persons who took their oath during the previous meetings that you are under the same oath. And for those resource persons appearing for the first time, this motu proprio inquiry, is there anybody who's appearing for the first time? Since there is no one appearing for the first time,
Your Honor, I'm
Yes.
appearing for the first time.
who are you, sir?
Raymond Abrea, Mr. Chairman.
Please stand up and Comsec, please administer the oath to Mr. Abrea.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this congressional inquiry to help you God?
I
Thank you.
do.
We will now proceed with the interpellations, and members can ask questions, seek clarification, or make manifestations on the subject of inquiry. You have 20 minutes to ask your questions, and answers, including comments and manifestations, will be counted to the allotted time. Please limit your questions to the issues at hand and avoid asking questions already answered. The members, as well as resource persons, are reminded to observe proper decorum, avoid side comment that is not necessary, and always address the chairman in raising the question and giving the answer. We will recognize interpellators on a first to register basis, and you can register with the committee secretary through our Viber group. The first in our list of interpellators is Committee Vice Chairman, Representative Johnny Pimentel. Sir Johnny, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. May I check my audio? Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, for recognizing me. This is our third hearing already on this subject matter, and we know very well that the main reason why we are conducting this inquiry is what we want to seek the truth regarding this subject matter. And on the two hearings that we have conducted, we were able to clarify some issues regarding some misconceptions. Number one, we have found out that the procurement process was legal and above board, considering that the procurement process was based on the provisions of Bayanihan 1 Act. Number two, we also were able to find out that the requirements that were needed for the negotiated procurement under emergency cases is not the same as the requirements needed for the competitive bidding. So meaning, it was established that the procurement of goods funded by Bayanihan 1 Act are exempted from Republic Act 9184. We also have found out, it was also established that there was no overprice on the goods procured under Bayanihan 1 Act. In fact, even no less than the COA chairman, Attorney Aguinaldo, corroborated by staff, that the issue at hand is not the overpricing. In fact, in the report, the COA report, they never mentioned the overprice of the goods. Number four, all the goods were delivered, inspected, and accepted before payment was made. Contrary to the perception of the public, and that is being portrayed by some sectors, that there were ghost deliveries. This was already refuted by our resource persons. It was also found out that there were other suppliers for the PPE and mask. Again, contrary to the misconception that there was only one supplier, which was Parmalee, that cornered the bulk of the 42 billion pesos. As testified by the resource person, especially Yusek Lau, it was shown on the table, it was shown during the last hearing, that there were in fact 17 suppliers for the PPE and 8 suppliers for the face mask. Now I will proceed to my interpellation. My first question will be addressed to the Department of Health. Last week, there was an issue regarding the expiry of the face shield. May I know from DOH, meron bang expiry date ang face shields? Considering that this is not a perishable commodity. Unlike ng pagkain, alam po natin, even canned goods, may expiration yan because napapanis po yan. Now, may I know, itong face shield, hindi naman napapanis to, hindi naman na ano, may I know from the DOH, whoever could answer my questions, meron bang expiry date ang face shield?
Secretary Duque, please answer. Sec Duque, DOH.
Is Chairman, is Secretary Duque on board, Mr. Chair, or whoever from the DOH?
He was here when we called the roll of resource persons.
Because this is a very contentious issue rather.
DOH,
This was,
Yusek, if the DOH secretary is not available.
I am available, Mr. Chairman. I am available. Nagkaroon lang ng technical glitch.
Okay, sir. Please answer,
Okay.
sir.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir. Please continue. Please continue, Sec Duque.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The DOH has established a shelf life for medical grade face shields. The shelf life is 36 months. According to our Disease Prevention and Control Bureau, Director Beverly Ho, shelf life 36 months. So there is a component of the face shield. It's a face shield, no? That has a styrofoam.
Sir, do you have a sample there? Can you bring a sample so that we can show the public what is the part of the face shield that is?
We will get a sample, Mr. Chairman, but I don't have it with me right now.
Later on.
Later on, yes, we will show this, Mr. Chairman. So that is the established shelf life of the face shield, which is at 36 months or 3 years. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, may I ask Secretary Duque, yung sinupply po ba ng Parmalee, meron po bang nakalagay na expiry date doon?
Wala naman ho yatang nakalagay, but I'm still having that investigated because of the revelations by the officer of Parmalee. So we're checking on this, but ito pala, meron na akong sample ng face shield, Mr. Chairman. I will just have it unwrapped from ito po. Kung makikita nyo, meron siyang styrofoam. Can you see this, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yung styrofoam niya, yan. Makikita ko. Yung pinipisil ko, that's the styrofoam. That apparently is what is subject to the shelf life because pwede mapulbos
36 months ba? Tama po ba? 36 months, hindi 6 months?
Hindi, 36 months.
Sabi kasi ng Senado, 6 months lang eh.
Hindi ho, 36 months po. Ito, 36 months. On record po ito, we will also submit the shelf life requirement for face shield, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Another question for DOH. Yung sinupply po ng Pharmaly, ito po ay na-distribute lahat po sa frontliners po natin. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, may process po tayo that the inspection team of the DOH, kung ito po ay binili from the through the PSDBM, meron pong inspection teams ang both PSDBM and DOH. So lahat po ito hindi tinatanggap unless meron pong certification, inspection, certification and acceptance report or ICAR.
I'm asking this, Mr. Chair, because I just want to establish that the issue is not the expiry, but rather kung nagamit ba ng ating mga frontliners. That is why I asked Secretary Duque kung na-distribute mo lahat, nagamit na ba lahat ng ating mga frontliners. Is that correct, Mr. Secretary Duque?
Mr. Chairman, I have to get the recent report on the consumption or utilization of the face shields. No? So I'm going to just prepare. We have Yusek Carol Tainyo. The report to me is yes, nagamit po itong mga ito.
Kasi, Mr. Chair, the supply was 500,000 face masks. That is the procurement that is being questioned. Kasi ang tanong ko, kung na-distribute po natin lahat ng face mask nagamit po ng mga frontliners natin yon, wala naman tayong problema siguro. Because the objective was consummated. Our objective was to purchase face mask at the onset of the pandemic, face shield rather, I'm sorry, I stand corrected, face shield rather, para magamit na kagad natin ng frontliners. So kung na-distribute po lahat yun, and then nagamit naman, anong lugi ng gobyerno doon? I think the government is not at the disadvantage considering that it was properly distributed, it was properly utilized by the frontliners. Ang next question ko kay Secretary Duque, meron ho bang nagreklamo? Meron bang hong nagreklamo na frontliner regarding the face shields that you distributed na 500,000 na hindi raw nila nagamit dahil expired o sira? Meron ho bang nagreklamo sa inyo, Secretary Duque?
Mr. Chairman, wala pong nagreklamo, wala pong report of any complaints, but I just would like to set the record straight. Meron pong 2 million po itong mga face shields na pinag-uusapan po natin, and based on the report to me, all 2 million have been distributed to the different regions. The report I can submit to the committee, Mr. Chairman.
Please give a copy to the committee secretariat, sir. Secretary.
So, Mr. Chair, to Secretary Duque again. So would you say, Secretary Duque, that it is safe to say that all the face shields that were procured, especially from the Pharmaly firm, that these were properly distributed and these were already utilized by our frontliners? Nagamit na po ito, na-distribute properly. Ganun po ba?
Mr. Chairman, can I please request Yusek Carol Tainyo to give a rejoinder to the question, Mr. Chairman? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yusek Carol Tainyo of the Procurement Supply Chain Office.
Respond.
Yes, magandang umaga po, Mr. Chair, Your Honors. Yes, all the face shields that has been delivered to DOH was already distributed to the different health facilities. Opo, nagamit po ito
May
lahat.
nagkasakit po ba at saka may namatay dahil sa face shields na binigay ng DOH sa mga frontliners?
Wala, malaking tulong po itong face shield na to sa mga frontliners natin.
Ma'am, please answer the question, yes or no lang. May namatay ba at nagkasakit sa face shield na mga inisyu ng DOH?
Wala naman po sa pagkakaalam namin po.
Salamat po. Please
Okay,
proceed.
thank you, Mr. Chair, that we have already established that the face shields were distributed, were utilized. So meaning, wala hong lugi yung
Hello, he is offline already, our Vice Chair Johnny Pimentel. We will just get back to him. He has already consumed 10 minutes. So we will go to DS Marcoleta the second in order to save time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'd like to ask my initial question to Mr. Abrea.
CPA Brea, you are recognized to answer the questions of DS Marcoleta.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Good morning, Mr. Abrea.
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
You testified before the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee. That's right. Did you hear the question, Mr. Abrea?
Paulit po, Mr. Chair. Sorry po.
You testified before the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee. That's right.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
What did you testify before the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee?
Mr. Chair, pinorward po yung audited FS ng Parmali at nagbigay po tayo ng financial analysis, Mr. Chair.
What was the connection of the financial analysis to your testimony at the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee?
Mr. Chair, ang tanong po sa akin, pinapresent po sa akin ng Senado ang pag-aaral ko po doon sa audited FS, Mr. Chair.
Yes, I know that. My question is, what is the connection of your analysis of the financial statement to the subject matter being taken up at that time by the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee?
Mr. Chair, pakilinaw po, sorry po. Hindi ko po naintindihan, Mr. Chair.
O sige, Tagalogin na lang natin para maintindihan mo mabuti. Ano ang koneksyon nung pina-analyze sa'yo ng Senate Blue Ribbon Committee yung financial statement ng Parmali doon sa subject matter na pinag-uusapan doon?
Mr. Chair, tinanong po kasi sa akin kung may financial capacity ang Parmali base po sa kanilang audited FS, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Sinabi ba sa iyo ng Senado, bago ka tumitestigo, yung konteksto kung bakit ka tinawag doon?
Sinabi lang po, Mr. Chair, na kailangan po ng resource person para magbigay ng analysis sa audited FS, Mr. Chair.
Oo nga, pero kung hindi mo masasabi sa amin, ano ang connection no pagkaka-analyze mo doon, hindi maiintindihan ng taong bayan kung bakit ka nandoon. At ano ang importansya ng testimony mo. What was exactly the relation of your testimony to the question as to whether or not there is anomaly in the procurement of pandemic items purchased from Parmali? What is the connection of the financial statement?
Mr. Chair, yun po magiging basihan kung nagkaroon po ng due diligence at may kapasidad po ang mga contractors or suppliers ng government, Mr. Chair.
Sa makatwid, dahil sa pagkaka-analyze mo ng financial statement at kinwestiyon mo na mababa ang capitalization, ang sagot mo sa Senate Blue Ribbon Committee walang due diligence. Tama?
Mr. Chair, ang sinabi ko po ay ito po ang resulta ng due diligence, Mr. Chair.
Ano nga yung resulta ng analysis mo kaya mo sinabi na may due diligence o walang due diligence? Kailangan liwanagin mo dito para maintindihan ka ng tao kung ano yung due diligence at bakit tumestigo ka kung merong due diligence o walang due diligence.
Mr. Chair, base po sa kanilang audited FS, maliban po doon sa 625,000 na initial capital ng Parmali, hindi din po naging malinaw, Mr. Chair, kung saan po nanggaling ang kanilang financing at ang kanilang supplies, Mr. Chair.
Alam mo ba yung Bayanihan 1, Mr. Abrea?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Kung ba sa Bayanihan 1, nire-require na kailangan yung supplier, tanungin mo kung saan nanggaling ang kanyang pera? Naintindihan mo yung tanong? Uulitin ko pa ba? Kung alam mo yung Bayanihan 1, nire-require ba ng Bayanihan 1 na yung supplier, bago siya makapag-supply, kinakailangan mataas ang kanyang capitalization o kaya kailangan i-prove niya sa'yo kung saan nanggaling ang kanyang capitalization. Nire-require ba yun ng Bayanihan 1?
Mr. Chair, kasama po siya sa basic due diligence, Mr. Chair.
Hindi mo sinasagot ang tanong ko eh. Kung alam mo yung Bayanihan 1, dapat alam mo na walang nire-require doon kung anong minimum capitalization. At dapat alam mo rin na hindi tinatanong doon kung saan kinuha yung pera na ginamit sa kapital. Yun ang tinatanong ko sa iyo. Paano mo ngayon sasabihin na due diligence? Eh wala namang requirement ang Bayanihan 1. Saan mo ibabatay ngayon yung panukat mo o yung standard mo, yung batayan mo na walang due diligence?
Mr. Chair, ang due diligence po is basic principle po ng pag-iingat para po masigurado natin na may kapasidad ang kahit sino mang kumpanya o individual na makikipag-transaction po tayo, Mr. Chair.
Abogado ka ba, Mr. Abrea?
Hindi po, Mr. Chair. CPA po, Mr. Chair.
O CPA ka? Yung due diligence, maraming klase yan. Merong necessary diligence, merong proper diligence, may ordinary diligence, merong extraordinary diligence. Alam mo ba yun?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Ngayon, kabisado mo yung Article 1163 ng Civil Code. Alam mo ba yun?
Hindi po, Mr. Chair. Hindi ko po kabisado.
Sasabihin ko sa iyo para malaman mo. Sa Article 1163 ng New Civil Code of the Philippines, binabanggit dyan yung diligence of a good father of the family. Ito yung ordinary diligence. Ito yung walang requirement sa batas kung anong gagawin mo. Katulad ng Bayanihan 1. Hindi nire-require ang minimum capitalization dyan. Hindi rin nire-require na hanapin mo pa kung saan galing ang pera nila. Ang ginawa ng PSTBM, kahit walang ganong requirement, nagtanong pa rin. Ordinary diligence ang ginawa niya. Dapat pinasalamatan mo sila. Because kahit hindi na kailangan, ginawa pa rin nila. Did you understand?
Opo, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So anong batayan mo na sinabi mong walang due diligence kasi hindi tinanong kung saan ang galing ang kanilang pera? Eh hindi naman nire-require ng batas yun.
Yun po
Saan mo
kasi
yung binatay? Kasi
Yun po.
tinawag nilang expert witness. Ang expert witness, maski na sa regular court, ay tinatanggap sapagkat ang sasabihin mo ay talagang makatutulong. Beyond the understanding of the regular court, makatutulong ka talaga. Ngayon, nag-testify ka as an expert witness. Naghahanap ka ng due diligence. Yung batayan, hindi mo alam. Wala ka palang batayan eh. Sinasabi ko sa iyo ngayon that Bayanihan 1, including the emergency procurement under PSDBM sa negotiated contract, do not require minimum capitalization. Those rules do not require also that you will have to ask where the money came from. Then there is no basis for you to judge and pass judgment on whether their action came from due diligence or not. Ang sinasabi mo, Mr. Abrea, kinakalculate ko lang, ay yung traditional na ginagawa under normal circumstances. Halimbawa, yung public bidding during ordinary circumstances. Kailangan talaga yung tinatawag na net financing contracting capacity. Kailangan din yung SLCC na sinasabi. Ito yung single largest completed contract. But this is under the circumstances of ordinary public bidding. We are not under ordinary public bidding. We are under a public emergency. This country has been placed under national calamity for 3 times. Did you consider that when you testified before the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee?
Yes,
Did you
Mr.
consider that?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Oh, when you consider that, paano mo ngayong sasabihin na walang due diligence? What is the basis? Ganito na lang para maintindihan mo, Mr. Abrea. May kaanak ka na may sakit. Palagay na nating medyo delikado ang kanyang kalagayan. Sabi ng doktor sa'yo, Mr. Abrea, gumawa ka na ng paraan. Kailangan mahanap mo itong gamot na ito. Magmadali kayo, oras ang kalaban natin. Inaasahan ko, Mr. Abrea, pupunta ka sa mga pharmaceuticals, sa butika, kung ano man, para mahanap mo yung gamot na sinasabi ng doktor. Tama ba ako?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Meron ngayong 3 butika ang nagsabi sa'yo. Yung isa, 10 piso lang yung gamot. Yung isa naman, 50 pesos. Pero wala silang supply. Yung isa, 1,000 pesos, siya lang ang merong supply. Anong gagawin mo, Mr. Abrea? Naghahanap ka ng gamot at naghahabol ka ng panahon. Because you are trying to save life. Yung kaanak mo. What will you do?
Bibili po ako, Mr. Chair, dun sa may supply, Mr. Chair.
Yung 1,000 pesos. Kahit na yung kalaban niya, 10 pesos and 20 pesos lang. Because they don't have the supply at the time you needed most. That particular drug. Tama?
Tama po, Mr. Chair.
Tama ka talaga. Ngayon, ibig mo ba sabihin, doon siya nagbigay sa iyo ng gamot na yun, 1,000? Tatanungin mo ba siya? Teka muna, tingnan ko nga yung capitalization mo kung tunay ka talaga. Tatanong mo ba sa kanya yon?
Hindi po, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Tatanungin mo ba kung saan nanggaling yung kanyang capitalization? Because if you do not do that, sasabihin mo wala kang due diligence. Sasabihin ba ng kamag-anak mo, yung kapamilya mo? What is your name, sir?
Mr. Mon Abrea.
Mon, sabi niya, Mon. Wala ka naman due diligence eh. Binili mo kagad eh. Padaskul-daskul ka naman eh. Bakit hindi mo muna tinanong kung yan ay may capitalization? Bakit yan hindi mo muna tinanong kung saan niya kinuha yung kanyang capitalization? Baka naman kinakailangan i-report mo yan sa AMLA. Baka hindi nagbabayad ng BIR yan. Gagawin mo ba yun, Mr. Abrea?
Doon po sa gamot, Mr. Chair, hindi po, Mr. Chair.
O tama. Hindi mo naman talaga gagawin. Dahil naghahabol ka ng panahon. Because you need to save lives. Halimbawa, Mr. Abrea, yung binilhan mo ng gamot na yon, ay kinuha niya lang doon sa kaibigan niya. Kasalanan ba yun kung halimbawa kumontak siya ng kaibigan niya sapagkat gusto rin niya magbenta. Hindi naman siya yung nag-manufacture noon. Pero kinuha niya sa ibang supplier. Pero yung supply, tama. Yun ang sinabi ng doktor. Mali ba yung ginawa ng supplier, Mr. Abrea?
Sa tingin ko po, hindi naman po, Mr. Chair.
O yun. Ngayon ko lang tumama, Mr. Abrea. Ang sinasabi natin dito, hindi tama na husgahan mo sa pamamagitan ng financial statement. Titingnan mo ang maraming bagay. Ano bang panahon natin? Di ba peligroso tayo? Di ba tayan ba ako para sabihin walang due diligence? Dahil hindi ba tinanong ng PSDBM kung saan niya kinuha yung pera? Kung nanghiram siya ng pera? Wala ng due diligence? Hindi ba pinag-uusapan natin kung sinong nakapag-deliver? Kagaya nung halimbawa natin, yung nakapag-deliver sa'yo, yung pangatlo, medyo mahal nga lang, pero nagkataon siyang may supply. At nag-adubuhay yung kamag-anak mo. Kukwestiyonin ba ng pamilya mo sapagkat hindi ka man lang kanya nagtanong. Sino ba yung binilhan mo na yun? Tinanong mo yun kung maraming utang yun. Tinanong mo ba yung kanyang stockholders kung mga may criminal records sa mga yan? Gagawin mo ba yun, Mr. Abrea?
Hindi po, Mr. Chair.
Salamat po, Mr. Chair. Wala na po kita tanong sa kanya.
Thank you, DS Marcoleta.
I will now go to other...
You have 6 minutes, sir.
6 minutes?
Yes, sir.
Baka naman gusto mo nang dagdagan ng konti yun.
Second round na lang, sir, kasi mayroon 11 na
Sige po,
nakapila.
kung nasaan na lang aabot ang 6 minutes, Chair, no? Pwede ko po bang, yun muna pong GPPB po ba yun, Mr. Chair? Ano po ba yung GPPB?
Government Procurement Policy Board.
Government Procurement. Hindi, dalawang po. Okay. Meron po bang representative ng GPPB?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Your Honor.
Sino po kayo, Madam? Ano pangalan niyo for our record?
I'm Melissa Santiago Yan, Deputy Executive Director of the GPPB TSO.
Mangilang tanong lamang po, kabisado po ninyo yung Bayanihan 1, Madam?
Hindi naman po kabisado, sir, but familiar po with the provision.
Familiar enough to be able to answer simple questions, Madam?
Yes, Mr.
Doon
Chair.
po kasi sa Bayanihan 1, kagaya po ng tinanong ko kay Mr. Abrea kanina, wala pong binabanggit doon na kinakailangan patunayan ng supplier na meron siyang minimum requirements. Wala pong minimum capitalization requirement. Wala rin pong sinasabing minimum experience requirement ang Bayanihan 1. Tama po ba ako sa appreciation ko sa batas, Madam?
Doon po sa Bayanihan 1, ang provision po niya, procurement provision niya is Section 4K. Ang sinasabi niya po doon is that certain procurement projects shall be exempt from the provisions of RA 9184, sir.
Yun nga po. Sa makatwid, wala po siyang sinasabing ano man doon. Minimum capitalization, minimum experience record. Wala pong sinasabi ron. Ang sinasabi, it is an exemption from the application of Republic Act 9184 and other related laws. Tama po.
Yes, sir.
So ang ibig nyo sabihin, yes, to sa sagot ko na walang requirements ang Bayanihan 1. Tama po.
In-exempt po niya from wala pong
Wala
requirement
po.
particular po na minention except po for the exemption from the provisions of
Kaya
RA.
nga po, maliwanag po yun. Bayanihan 1 or Republic Act 11469 categorically exempted the application of Republic Act 9184. Nagkakaintindihan po tayo ron?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Kung ini-exempt po pala ng Bayanihan 1 ang application ng 9184, bakit naman po, ang totoo niyan ay gumawa kayo ng GPPB Resolution number 6-2020. Tama po ba yun?
Yes po.
At ang Resolution 6-2020 was copied verbatim from item C, paragraph 5 of the Memorandum of the Executive Secretary dated 28 March 2020. Am I correct?
Paano pong, it was not copied verbatim po doon, sir. It was issued by the GPPB based on the Memorandum of the Executive Secretary.
I am referring to a particular whereas of GPPB Resolution 6-2020. Whereas, sabi po ninyo, pursuant to RA number 11469, the Office of the Executive Secretary issued memorandum dated 28 March 2020 authorizing, among others, the Honorable Secretary of the DBM, who is likewise the Chairman of the GBPB, to craft guidelines, blah, 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 blah. This was verbatimly copied from item C, paragraph 5 of that memorandum of the Executive Secretary. Did you notice that?
Yes po.
Kailangan kabisado mo lahat yung, sa inyo ito ngayon ko lang nabasa ito bakit naman ganun pala, alam naman pala ninyo yun. Alam ba niyo sinabi ng memorandum, sabi po niya sa inyo, kailangan gumawa kayo, sabi niya, in connection, kahit na libre na, kahit na exempted ng 9184, ang sinabi sa inyo, you have to craft clear and simple rules on liquidation with liberal procedure in determining price most advantageous to the government, considering the urgency of the present situation, and sabi pa niya, and measures to reasonably prevent abuses and corruption, but not too restrictive. Did you understand this? The operative words are
Yes, Your
simple
Honor.
rules, liberal procedures, urgency
Yes, Your
of the
Honor.
present situation, reasonably prevent, but not too restrictive. Tama po? Nagkakaintindihan tayo?
Yes, Your Honor po.
O bakit naman nung gumawa kayo ng GPPB ano ba yun? Number 1-2020, bakit isinangkot pa ninyo yung negotiated procurement under emergency cases under Section 53B of RA number 9184 and Section 53.2 of the 2016 revised implementing rules and regulations of 9184. Why did you include that provision?
No, Your Honor, the GPPB did not include emergency procurement under Section 53.2 and 53B. It was just termed as emergency procurement under the Bayanihan law, but not emergency procurement under Section 53.2 or 53B of 2016 IRR. That's why there are also simplified procedures that are found in Circular 1-2020 that are not found in our emergency procurement modality, because of that directive from the President, Your Honor.
Are you denying, Madam, NPM number 004-2020? Are you denying it? This is
No,
your
Your
own document.
No, Your Honor, we're not
If you are
denying.
not denying this, bakit sinasabi, ibig mo sabihin ako ang nagsisinungaling dito? I will quote this. Alam mo ba yung NPM? This is non-policy opinion, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Kaya tayo nagkaka-confuse, hindi kayo kasi sumasagot ng matino at saka direkta. Ito, NPM number 004 2020, dated 16 April 2020. Subject, emergency procurement under 11469 or the Bayanihan to Hilaswan.
John, last
Oh.
question.
Yes, Your Honor.
Starting April 12, 2020. Oh, itong GPPB Circular 01-2020. All PPEs may now undertake emergency procurement under the Bayanihan Act using procedure and requirements provided in the circular. The procedure is similar to those provided under negotiated procurement under emergency cases under Section 53B of RA number 9184 and Section 53.2 of its 2016 revised implementing rules and regulation. Nagsisinungaling ba ako dito? Binabasa ko lang ang
Yes
yun.
po. Your Honor, if I may be allowed to explain, although there are similarities, because of course we do not want to reinvent the wheel, because procuring entities are also asking us.
I am sorry to
asking
cut
us
you.
to
Ang
provide.
sinasabi ko lang, bakit mo sinali pa ito? Kaya nagkakagulo eh. Bayanihan 1, categorically exempted or dispense with the application of 9184. But you provided certain mechanism under 9184.
Yes po. It was a GP.
No. Teka muna. Mas marunong pa ba kayo sa Congress? Kami gumawa nito eh. Under Bayanihan 1, we disposed of the application of 9184. That was the wisdom of the Congress. You have no right, okay, to reverse the wisdom of Congress. Gumawa kayo ng non-policy opinion. Sino ba kayo para gawin yun?
Your Honor, the non-policy matter opinion was issued by the Executive Director of the TSO based on the circular issued by the GPPB, Your Honor. It's just explaining po para to provide guidance to procuring entities on the circular.
You did not provide guidelines. You confused the whole issue. Nakukuha ba? Nagkakaintindihan ba tayo? The premise was very clear. Kaya tinanong kita kanina kung naiintindihan mo Bayanihan 1. Lumilitaw parang hindi mo talaga naiintindihan. Bayanihan 1 dispense with the application of 9184. Period.
Okay.
Wala nang time.
Wala nang time.
O babalikan
5 minutes.
kita, madam. I will probably take...
Papaisipin mo muna siya, sir, kasi mukhang they cannot legislate from their office.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Next to interpolate the 10 minutes of Johnny. Sir Johnny, you have 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. One of the contentious issues regarding the subject matter, which was brought up in the Senate committee, is the pre-signed inspection report. May I know from COMSEC if Mr. Ruel Catalan is present?
Joel Catalan? Absent.
Can we request the COMSEC to invite Mr. Ruel Catalan if ever we have another hearing on this matter?
Yes, please invite Mr. Joel Catalan on October 4 hearing.
Do we have, Mr. Chair, do we have Mr. George Mendoza, the Chief Inspector?
George Mendoza, are you online?
Present, Your Honor.
Yes, this is George.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I would like to address my question to George Mendoza. Kayo po ang pumirma ng ICAR, hindi po ba?
Yes, Your Honor. Opo.
Who instructed you to sign the ICAR?
Actually po, yan ang management po yun dahil it is a what you call that pro forma document for the payment to be processed, Your Honor. Considering that that document is an inspection report, needless to say, pro forma pa lang po siya. And sa ICAR po yun, yung inspection report na yun, there are notations there that even if meron ng inspection report in advance, once the delivery has been na-deliver po, it is still subject for inspection po, Your Honor.
So, to make this clear, no, you signed the ICAR, wala pa yung item.
Yes, Your Honor. Opo. Still within China.
It was needed for the process of the payment, ganun po ba?
Yes, Your Honor. Opo. Nasa China pa po yung goods.
Okay. Now, my next question. Up the ICAR. Kasi sabi mo wala pa yung item that was needed for the processing of the payment. But after signing the ICAR, did you conduct actual inspection of the items?
Yes, Your Honor, definitely opo. Actually, Your Honor, we sent inspectors pa sa China to pick up the PPEs for them to witness the loading.
Okay. Pinirma mo yung ICAR, yung pro forma, then the items were delivered. Ang tanong ko, next question ko, lahat ba ng items na pinirmahan mo doon sa ICAR na-deliver ba 100%?
Yes, sir. As per documents submitted po, inspected po, 100% po, Your Honor.
So you can safely say or categorically say or state that there were no ghost deliveries pertaining to this purchase order.
Definitely, Your Honor, wala pong ghost delivery. All accounted for po, lahat ng PPEs na nanggaling sa China.
Okay, my next question will be addressed to Yusik Lau. Yusik Lau, are you online?
I am online, Mr. Chairman.
Well, Mr. George Mendoza has already stated that all the goods were delivered. Now, we want to know, are there proof of deliveries? Anong dokumento na pwede nating ipakita? Because we want nga na malaman talaga kung anong katotohanan. Hindi po ba? Kasi ang dami ng mga issues regarding this matter. Now, ano hong prueba ninyo? Ano hong proof ninyo na yung mga goods were really actually delivered?
We have data, Mr. Chairman, based on IATF and NTF, yung PPE sets, na-deliver po yan sa mga hospitals. Meron po tayong recording dyan, especially yung galing sa China. Direct po yan, papunta sa mga hospitals. May record po si DOH, si NTF, IATF, pati ang mga hospitals. So even the doctors and the nurses who were able to wear these items can testify. In fact, private hospitals were also provided kasi nga pati ang private hospitals during that time wala nang magamit. They are using trash bags literally. And we can provide you copies of that po. I think
so yung mga deliveries were properly signed by the recipients, yung mga frontliners. Is that correct?
Yes po. Yes po. Those were properly signed, accepted, inspected, and received.
Okay, do we have a certain Dr. Celia Carlos from RIDM? Comsec?
Did not invite him?
Do we have Dr. Do we have Dr. Celia Carlos online?
We did not send an invitation. We will invite her.
Okay, now therefore, Mr. Chair, may I request the three persons that I mentioned to be invited on the next hearing. Mr. Ruel Catalan. Mr. Ruel Catalan, dalawa lang pala kasi nandiyan pala si George Mendoza and then Dr. Celia Carlos.
Celia Carlos. Okay, noted. Comsec, please invite for October 4.
Okay, still have time, Mr. Chair. I would like to...
Yes, you have 5 minutes. You have 4 minutes.
Okay, extend mo lang ng konti. Ito na lang. For GPPB, the director or whoever is the representative from GPPB.
Deputy Executive Director.
That one that was questioned by this Marcoleta. Is he still online?
Yes, he is.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. May I know your name?
I'm Melissa Santiago Yan po from the GPPB TSO.
You're the Executive Director?
No, Your Honor. I'm the Deputy Executive Director.
Okay, you're the Deputy Executive Director. Okay. Much has been said about the provisions in Bayanihan 1 compared to the requirements of the competitive public bidding under Republic 91/84. Just for a clarification, doon sa competitive public bidding, one of the requirements is the MCC. Hindi po ba?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ngayon, ang next question ko, ang tanong ko, nire-require pa ba ang NFCC dun sa negotiated procurement under emergency cases under the provisions of Bayanihan 1 Act?
Hindi naman po, sir. For ano lang po,
Yes.
infrastructure projects above 500,000 po.
Okay. So clear, hindi po kailangan yun, no? Because nakalagay naman sa provisions. Kailangan din po ba dun sa competitive public bidding yung single largest completed contract?
Sa competitive bidding po, yes.
Yes, kailangan yon, hindi ba?
Yes.
Very clear yan. Na ang tanong ko, kailangan ba yon doon sa negotiated procurement under emergency cases for goods funded by Bayanihan 1 Act? Kailangan ba yung LSLCC?
It's not required po. Under
So
the
ano lang
Bayanihan 1 po.
Yes, so yun na nga, klaro na, no? Clear. Hindi kailangan ng FCC doon sa emergency procurement, hindi rin kailangan ng SLCC. Ang kailangan ho ba, tama po ba ito under Circular 1-2020 na ang kailangan lang is Mayor's Permit, ITR, and OSS. Is that correct?
Yes po.
So would you say that the supplier that is in question right now complied with all the requirements? Kasi ang nire-require lang naman dun sa Bayanihan 1 Act is Mayor's Permit, ITR, and OSS. So nag-comply naman po sila. Compliant naman po sila dun sa requirement na yon, hindi po ba?
Your Honor, I am not familiar with what they have submitted, but if they have submitted all of those documents mentioned, then they are compliant po.
But anyway, it's very clear that the NFCC and SLCC is not required. So thank you. Itatanong ko po sana ito po, no? Pero 1 minute na, this will take about several minutes. So I'll reserve my question. Mr. Chair, I will reserve my questions. May request Mon Abrea, Mr. Abrea, to be present during the next hearing and the other resource persons that I requested.
Yes,
Because this will take some time.
we will make sure they are here in the next hearing, October 4th.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair Johnny. Next to interpolate is the Honorable David J. Suarez of Quezon.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, point of clarification lang. Hindi ko kasi masyadong nakuha yung statement nung Mr. Mon Abrea. So did he say that the requirements for due diligence is applicable to regular competitive bidding? Tama po ba yun?
Mr. Abrea, you please answer.
Mr. Chair, hindi ko po sinabi na required sa bidding, Mr. Chair.
No, so you said that for regular competitive bidding, due diligence is required, correct?
No, Mr. Chair, ang sabi ko po, ang basic due diligence po ay kailangan sa lahat ng transaksyon na ginagawa po natin, whether government or hindi po, Mr. Chair.
Basic due diligence ang required. Tama.
Yes po, bilang pag-iingat po, Mr. Chair, hindi po to dahil may batas.
Tanong ko lang, Mr. Abrea, you were asked to look into the records of Parmalee, is that correct?
Audited financial statements, Mr. Chair. Yes po.
You were asked to do that. Okay. Did you ask permission from the company, Mr. Abrea, to do that?
Sorry po, ano po yan, Mr. Chair?
Did you ask permission from the company or from their accountant or from Parmalee executives to look into their books?
Ako po, Mr. Chair, personally po, si Senate Blue Ribbon Committee po ang nag-request po sa akin, Mr. Chair.
Okay. And you did that, and you looked into their books, in other words.
Just the audited FS po, Mr. Chair, not all the accounting records, Mr. Chair.
So because I just find it quite out of the ordinary, because it's quite, sorry for the lack of a better term, but unethical that, an accountant's work, we look into the work of another accountant. I think, accountants don't do that. But in this case, it seems like you did, no?
Mr. Chair, it's a financial analysis po, not an evaluation of the work of the accountant, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abrea. So anyway, I want to address my questions, Mr. Chair, to Attorney Lloyd Lau. Attorney Lau.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Nandito na naman po tayo, no? Kasi naguguluhan na naman po yung mamamayan sa mga binili. I always keep on saying that we need to look at things in their proper context. Attorney Lau, do you know when Bayanihan 1 was passed by Congress?
I think it was signed by Congress on March 23.
24.
24. March 24.
When was it signed by the President?
I think the President signed it on March 25.
Right.
No, the President signed it on March 24. Congress passed it on 23.
Congress, including the Senate?
Yes po. Yes po.
So the Senate knows the details, the provisions inside Bayanihan 1, correct?
Yes po. Yes, they do.
And then the President signed it.
Yes, on March 24, the President signed it.
When did it take effect?
It was published on March 25, as you can check on the internet by official gazette. It was updated on March. Their website was updated on March 25, 2020, showing the publication, the posting of Bayanihan 1 law.
Okay. You were head of PSDBM during that time, correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
When did you start procuring items for COVID-19?
We started procuring, I think, as early as March 9. We were already looking for items such as face masks, face shield, and yung mga coverall. Nag-upisa po kami March 9. So we were using still the emergency procurement mode under RA 9184. And we were only able to buy as far as face masks on, I think, March 16. Ang nabili lang po namin is
No. Okay. I just wanted to ask that question.
Ay, sorry. Yun lang po, sir.
Attorney Lau. So you were head and you started procuring when? March. As early as?
March 9 po.
March 9. Okay.
Opo. Hanap po kami.
So, dahil hindi pa in effect yung bayanihan, ano ang ginamit niyong batas para bilhin yung mga kagamitan na kinakailangan ng ating pamahalaan?
Negotiated procurement under RA 9184 po.
Under RA
9184.
9184.
Procurement law. Opo.
Now, I ask you, Attorney Lau, in normal circumstances, assuming wala tayong pandemya, how long would it take to procure items going through the normal, ordinary bidding process?
Average po, pag non-contentious, ibig sabihin yung mga bidders hindi nag-aaway-away, pag natalo sila, okay lang, pag nanalo sila, okay lang. 120 days. Pero pag contentious po, yung mga nag-aaway-away sila, umaabot po tayo ng 6 months minsan.
O sige, so 120 days, 6 months. Ilagay na lang natin ng 120 days, hindi nag-away-away, nagkasundo. 120 days is more or less equivalent to 4 months, is that correct?
Yes po. 4 months at least.
4 months to procure, 4 months to get the item. February, we already had reports of COVID spreading into other countries. March, we declared the lockdown. If we did not procure these items through the emergency purpose under RA 9184 and followed the usual bidding process, it would take us 4 months.
Yes, Mr.
March, April, May, June, July. So more or less, kung dadaan tayo dito sa proseso na dinasaan, July pa natin makukuha yung mga gamit.
Hindi po.
O go.
July lang po ma-award. So hindi po ibig sabihin July natin makukuha.
Ma-award. So kailan makukuha pagkatapos ng award?
Around a month, within 30 days from the issuance of notice of award. So mga
July.
Yes, July, August.
Mga August na, makukuha natin. Marso pa lang, lockdown na tayo. April, we were getting reports that our healthcare workers were contacting the COVID virus because they did not have the proper health protective gear. Other than that, Mr. Chair, our frontliners in the hospitals resorted to, nilalabhan na po nila yung mga face mask nila, nire-recycle nila yung mga face mask nila, parang retaso na yung kanilang mga protective gear kasi wala nga tayong mabili at that time. So ngayon, kung idadaan natin dito sa usual process, nabibili tayo, aba mga kasama, o gusto natin makukuha itong mga gamit. So in other words, ang ginamit po natin paraan para makabili kaagad ng mga kagamitan is RA 1984 emergency procurement, correct?
Yes, initially po. Pero the bulk of our procurement is under Bayanihan 1 na po. We just like to note, Mr. Chairman, the reason that we were so desperate during that time because as per data by DOH, as of April 2, 2020, only listed doctors lang, 17 doctors have already died, not including the nurses and other frontline personnel. So yun po ang nagpapastress sa PSDBM na kailangan talaga makahanap kami ng paraan kasi at the end of the day, PSDBM will be blamed because we were not able to procure and people are dying, especially doctors.
Thank you, sir. Ito na nga po yung sinasabi ni DS Dante kanina. Paghabol hininga na ang kapamilya mo at kinakailangan ka bumili ng gamot. Pupunta ka ba sa mahal na may stock, sa mura na isang linggo pa darating, o sa mas mura pa kasi lang i-order pa yung gamit? Doon ako pupunta sa mahal. Habol hininga na. Mamatayan na yung mga kababayan natin. Ngayon, let me ask you, Attorney Lau. Lincoln Ong of Family said he submitted a letter of intent to PSDBM March 24. Is this correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chair. That is correct.
What does the LOI contain?
The letter of intent contained that they are willing to sell at 27.72 or 28 pesos cash payment upon delivery, and the stocks are on hand, and they have 900,000 pieces of face mask available, surgical face mask available.
Please submit to us that letter. Mr. Chair, if I may move, can we a copy of that document?
I think PSDBM will
provide
supply that.
PSDBM that requested document by Friday of this week.
Who told formally that PSDBM was soliciting offers?
I think as early as March 9, when GPPB and there was a state of emergency declared by the President, and I think as early as March 9, na-declare din ata na common supplies na ang mga items for COVID, nag-post po si PSDBM sa sariling website namin na it has been declared as common supplies, nag-inform na kami sa LGU, sa lahat. So during that time, marami na pong pumupunta sa office, nagpapadala ng mga offers.
Marami na.
Yes po. As early as
there were other suppliers who submitted letters of intent before Mr. Lincoln Ong went to PSDBM on March 24.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. In fact, when he went to our office, meron na po nagpadala, I think Blue Cross and I think the other one is Mac Tycoon. I'm not sure.
Again,
Yes.
Mr. Chair, can I request that since Yusek Lau mentioned na may mga pangalan at may mga offers na isinamit sa PSDBM, can we also subpoena the documents? I want to get a list of who these corporations and companies are and the details of their offers.
To the director of the current acting director, DBMPS, is give the requested documents of the other offers of Mr. Jonas. Can you please do that by Friday? Or we have...
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. We will submit. We will comply with the request.
Okay, thank you.
During the last committee hearing, Mr. Ong stated na he delivered 500,000 surgical masks on March 25. Is this correct?
Yes, but that was delivered after office hours, Mr. Chairman.
It's okay. I'm just asking if this is
Okay.
correct. Ms. Mago formally also said that she received a request for quotation on March 25. Is this correct?
Yes, that is also correct, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Mago also said that she sent a reply to the RFQ on March 26, the following day. Is this correct?
Yes, that is also correct, Mr. Chairman.
So itong mga dates na to, kailangan natin ayusin kasi dito nililito ang ating mga mamamayan. Someone from PSDBM also said during the last hearing that a notice of award was issued to Parmali on April 6, 2020. Is this correct?
That is also correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Now, with the dates that I have mentioned, can you explain why 500,000 surgical face masks were delivered on March 24 when the reply of Parmali to the request for quotation was sent on March 26 and the NOA, the notice of award, was released only on April 6? Pwede mo bang ipaliwanag to?
First, Mr. Chair, the delivery was not made on March 24. The delivery was made on March 25. Yung letter of intention kasi, letter of intent, is actually similar to an RFO or a response to the request for quotation. Pero ang system kasi namin, gumagamit kami ng the programming that we have is RA 994. So we use usually standard format. So since yung letter of intent na sinabit sa amin, kasi I think Parmali is not a government supplier, so hindi nila alam yung pro forma na ginagamit natin sa government. So when they sent that letter, pinapaprocess natin yan. So pag-process niyan, siyempre nakikita ng mga tao, hindi ito in the standard format. So hindi standard format, so dapat padalhan sila ng standard format, just like other companies. So pinapadalhan sila. I think that was sent on March 25, the day after natanggap natin yung letter. So pinadalhan sila so that they can respond appropriately. But the LOI by itself
5 minutes.
is sufficient kasi may complete details na. Yung delivery naman, kasi it's unique kasi ang offer ni Parmali. They said they have it on hand, which is very, kung sa atin pa, that is parang marketing style na meron kaming on hand. So I told them, if you really have on hand, show proof ka. So they showed proof on March 25 after office hours, pinadala nila. In fact, nung pinadala nila yan, ang pina-receive for clarification of everybody, walang form na nirelease ang government because there is no transaction. Ang form na nakita nila na, may delivery receipt, is yung iniwan nila kasi ayaw din ni Parmali. Ang dami nito eh. Di ba? 500,000 face mask. We need proof na iniwan namin sa inyo kasi pag nawala, walang aamin. So pinalisin nila sa mga tao namin na meron kaming iniwan dyan. Now, on March 26, when I arrived, alam naman natin na the law was already effective as early as March 25. On March 26, nalaman na natin, sir, may actual deliver dito, nagpakita talaga ng stocks. sila lang ang actual na may stock. Yung iba kasi 15 days, 30 days, may 50% down payment. So sabi ko, ang problema kasi dyan, gusto niya cash but we're not willing to pay cash. Kasi we have to follow yung standard process namin kasi sanay kami sa process na inspect muna, mag-issue muna ng notice of award, mag-PO muna. Although that is no longer required by law under Bayanihan 1, but we are used to it. Accustomed kami sa government. And so sabi ko, sundin muna natin yung process, call the supplier and talk to them. So kinausap namin yung supplier and we negotiated na kung gusto mo, bibilhin namin yung 500,000 kasi ikaw ang available, ikaw ang pinakamura on the condition na inspect muna namin, then after namin inspect, issuehan ka na, mag-NOA muna kami, then mag-PO kami, then inspect namin, then i-process namin ang payment based din dun sa mga iCar. Kasi we have to explain, hindi kasi sila government supplier na meron kaming standard din na hindi tumatakbo kasi yung accounting namin na processing of payment kung walang iCar. Yung iCar kasi inspection, certification, and acceptance report. Yan yung proof na may delivery. Yung DR na sinabi as early as March 25, that is on the side of supplier na may proof sila may iniwan. But there is no transaction. So kung may transaction, iCar yan. So sabi ko, we have to process the iCar first. Kung totoo yung items, inspected of quality. So kaya umabot siya ng April 6. So nung na-issuehan na siya ng iCar, yung payment naman, kasi I think Raul Catalan can explain, he's the one who's good at it sa payment, umabot siya ng April 14. Actually, mabilis na yung April 14. For during that time kasi medyo matagal yan kasi inspection takes a lot of time, the iCar issuance takes a lot of time, uploading sa system namin takes a lot of time, and communication even to
Attorney Lau, because I'm running out of time and I just want to get quick answers to my question. So you said the stocks were inspected, correct?
Yes, the items were properly inspected.
Did they pass all the specifications based on what was required?
I think during the time, ang makakasagot po niyan is inspection team. But I think since my issuance of iCar, I think they were able to submit the necessary documents required by law.
So on what law was the procurement of 500,000 pieces of face masks from Parmalee based?
It is based actually on Bayanihan 1, Mr. Chairman, because Bayanihan 1 took effect on March 25. Bayanihan 1 po.
So Bayanihan 1 na.
Yes,
where
po.
we granted government authority to expeditiously procure items in the
Yes,
quickest possible manner, in the soonest possible time, given the circumstances that you were in. Correct?
Correct po.
Okay. And what about the subsequent procurement from Parmalee? Ang ginamit na batas?
Yes, most all during that time, starting March 25 and so on, we use Bayanihan 1. And the only time we stopped using Bayanihan 1 in procurement is when Bayanihan 2 took effect. So, nung nag-take effect na ang Bayanihan 2, Bayanihan 2 na ang ginamit namin. But either Bayanihan 1 or Bayanihan 2 lang ang basis po sa pagbili natin.
Okay, just wrapping up. Attorney Lau, all the other suppliers underwent the same process?
Yes, definitely. We just like to clarify to the public na lahat po ng supplier, hindi ho namin hiningan ng yung kailangan yung SEC na registration, GIS, yung financial capacity.
Yes or no lang. Lahat ba ay dumaan sa parehas na process?
Yes, we applied the same process to all supplier and all standard. Yes. Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Tulad ng Ulay Pharmaceuticals, Phil PharmaWealth, Cosmic Technology, Health Wellness, all of them went through the same process?
Yes, including EMS po. Sila po lahat.
Including EMS also?
Including EMS.
So if everybody went through the same process, Mr. Chair, at lahat naman po ay dumaan sa iisang daan, ano natin masasabi ngayon na nagkaroon ng problema at may katiwalaan na nangyari. Lahat naman po ay doon din naman po ang pinuntahan. Yun din po ang ginamit na daan. May isa na naman ang pagtutunguhan nun para makadeliver ng gamit sa gobyerno na nangangailangan ng mga protective gear. Before I let Attorney Lau go, last question to him, and I'm going to wrap up already, Mr. Chair. Attorney Lau, how long were you part of PSDBM?
Roughly around 1 year, 6 months.
So even prior to the pandemic, nandun ka na?
1 month before pandemic, only on January. I started January 2020, Mr. Chairman.
So, kanina kasi medyo naliwanagan lang ako doon sa interpolation ni T.S. Marcoleta tungkol dito sa due diligence. I know naman that it's required. And I asked myself, how long does it take for due diligence to take place? I mean, to practice. How long usually does it take?
As a practicing lawyer, when I was in real estate, I usually conduct due diligence when my clients procure real estate properties or make joint venture agreement. It takes at least 6 months to have appropriate due diligence to check whether or not they have existing transactions with other clients.
Okay, Attorney Lau. Mon Abreu, are you with us?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. I noticed you have a lot of awards in the background. Congratulations.
Salamat, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Abreu, how long does it usually take itong sinasabi mong due diligence?
Yung or regular due diligence, Mr. Chair, 1 month to 3 months, Mr. Chair.
1 month,
Based
3
on
months.
financial records, Mr. Chair.
Huh?
Based on financial records.
1 month to
3 months, Mr. Chair.
Okay, 1 month to 3 months. Maraming salamat, Mr. Abreu. And congratulations to all the awards that you've received. Sana madagdagan pa yan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So, Mr. Chair, wrapping up. 1 month, sinabi ni Mr. Abreu. Kung aantayin pa natin yung 1 buwan at susundan natin yung regular na pamamaraan ng pagbili at procure ng gamit, aabutin pa tayo ng Agosto bago dumating yung mga gamit na kinakailangan ng bansang Pilipinas. Kaya nga po natin, ipinasa yung Bayanihan 1 para mabilis natin mag-procure yung mga gamit. May paliwanag din naman kanina na no one was singled out. Everybody went through the same process of providing and supplying government. So, Mr. Chair, with that being said, thank you to our resource person. Thank you for, again, allowing me to extend my time. Ang pakiusap ko lang, huwag natin lilituin yung mamamayan at taong bayan pagdating sa mga proseso at timeline. Kasi dito tayo nagkakaroon ng miscommunication between one another. So, again, Mr. Chair, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I will just
Vice Chair,
register my
Suarez.
name for the second round.
Thank
Maraming
you.
salamat.
Before we continue, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of additional members in attendance. Deputy Speaker Eli Villanueva, Representative Ron Salo, Senior Deputy Majority Leader and Vice Chair Christine Remulla, Representative Alan Duhali, Representative Adrian Ebcas, Representative Ferdinand Gaite, Representative Jake Vincent Villa, Representative Angelo Barba. Is Mohit Dargani online?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Good morning.
Mr. Mohit, what is your position in Parmali?
My position is the Corp Secretary and the Treasurer, Mr. Chairman.
But Ms. Mago said you were one of the bosses that day-to-day give orders. Is that correct?
I'm one of the bosses that, yes, she relies on and she gets instructions from.
Did you ever swindle or take part in any swindling of the government?
No, Your Honor.
Pero sabi ng Senate, nag-swindle ka daw.
That's not true, Mr. Chairman.
Why do you say that?
because we did not partake in any form of swindling or yeah.
What is the biggest margin per piece of face mask you know this answered the truth? What is the per price profit or margin that you put on a face mask this time that you have been supplying the government? What is the biggest margin in terms of peso?
The biggest margin in terms of peso, Your Honor, I believe it's around 5%.
Excuse me, what? 58?
Around 5%.
5%?
Around 5%. Yeah, like example for the first
But
shipment.
they told me that there was an example that I was just listening, that the 22 pesos you bought it from another supplier, then you gave it to the government at 27.70. Is this
Yeah,
correct?
we bought it at 23.90 based on records, Mr. Chairman.
So how
And
many
we-
percent is that? 23.90, then you sold it how much?
We sold it at 27.72. That already includes the 12% VAT.
So that's not 5%. How many percent is that?
Mr. Chairman, allow me to just use my calculator right
Yeah,
now.
that's wrong. That's not 5%. I want to know the exact figure.
So including the VAT, Mr. Chairman, I believe it comes out to 13.7%.
That's your profit margin, is that correct?
Yeah, including the VAT.
Don't you think that a 13% margin is reasonable on the time of when you delivered that mask? Is that reasonable profit?
I believe that it's not overpricing, Mr. Chairman, and I believe that was the most comfortable price that our company
No,
can
no, I'm not
provide
talking
at
about
that
the
time.
price. I'm talking about the margin. Is that a reasonable margin, the 13%? Yes or no?
I think it's reasonable considering that there's still VAT deductible to it.
How old are you, Mr. Dargani?
I'm 28 years old, Mr. Chairman.
Did you attend what college did you attend?
And colleges, Mr. Chairman.
What did you take up there?
I took up finance and wealth management.
Did you ever give orders to Ms. Mago to substitute the stickers for date of production on the face shields or any other product for that matter, or removing or altering expiration dates?
No, Mr. Chairman.
You are under oath, Mr. Dargani.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I did not give any orders.
Did you give text or communicate with Ms. Mago to go into hiding?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Why did you think she is incommunicado? Why do you think that? What's your opinion of that? She is incommunicado.
On my personal opinion, I think she's just under the pressure of what happened last week when she got pressured by the Senate. But that's just my opinion.
What's the pressure? What pressure are you receiving from the Senate?
I think after what she saw, that what happened to Mr. Lincoln Ong, one of her bosses, I think that really frightened her and put her in a position to just keep saying yes. I haven't also spoken to Ms. Mago, so I don't know exactly, Mr. Chairman.
How many percent of I know this already, but I'm answering. I am asking you. How many percent of the supply of face masks did you supply the Philippine government? How many percent in terms of the total business of the government?
I believe we only supplied 4% to the national government.
Okay, about PPE, protective equipment, how many percent?
I believe for the PPEs, it's 20%.
Yet, they say you are the favored supplier. Do you feel that you are the favored supplier?
I don't feel we are the favored supplier, Mr. Chairman, because we have also lost many times. We have lost more times than we have won.
If you lost, why do you have expensive cars? The Senate says that you have expensive cars. What's your answer to that?
Mr. Chairman, as a businessman, I wanted to venture into buy and sell as well. you know that these cars have a special chips that's very limited and it went on scarce during the pandemic. So this appreciates the value of the luxury vehicles.
Mr. Dagani, are you still conducting business with the government up to now?
Right now, Mr. Chairman, we have completed our deliveries to based on our commitment and our obligation. So we're just pending collections.
There's an allegation that some of the deliveries were ghost deliveries. What's your answer to that?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Final destination.
No, Mr. Chairman, we have delivered all our deliveries, all our obligations under our contracts to the government. We have enough sufficient proof as delivery receipts, inspection reports, etc. to prove it.
So in reality, how many percent of ownership, including beneficial ownership, do you have of Parmali Pharmaceutical? How many percent with your sister?
I have 30% and I believe my sister has 10%.
So both of you have 40%.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
How about the other with your girlfriend? What is the name of the company?
That's Business Beyond Limits. It's a one-person corporation.
What business did that company do? That one-person corporation. What business did that do?
Well, it was incorporated for the purpose of going into trading as well, Mr. Chairman.
Did that complete a transaction with government with that corporation?
It has no completed government contracts as of the moment, Mr. Chairman.
So why did the Senate bring that up? Do you think? Because why? Because there's no business yet done by that corporation.
There is a contract awarded as a joint venture between Pharmally and Business Beyond Limits, but up until today, that contract hasn't been obligated.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dagani.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and belated happy birthday.
Thank you. Next to ask is Deputy Speaker Eddie Villanueva. Sir. That's the interpreter.
Yes. Yes.
Sir, Brother Eddie, please proceed.
Special greetings to the chairman of the Good Government Committee, Honorable Michael Edgar Mike.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for this. And now, can I now?
Please proceed, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Una po, bago ko lang para lang sa consumption ng sambayan ng Pilipino, bakit naisipan ko pong magbigay ng ilang katanungan. Ako po ay ilang araw nang medyo dinidisturb ng di umano yung umuugong na mga salitaan sa social media na ito daw pong August body ng House of Representatives ay medyo muro-muro lang ang hearing. Dahil po rito, ako'y nasaktan. Dahil ako'y DS or Deputy Speaker for Good Governance and Moral Uprightness. Sabi ko, please don't believe those chismes. I am participating in this hearing through interpellation. Kaya, unang-una po, Mr. Chairman, ay nais ko hong ipaalam sa taong bayan na yung result ng research group po namin, yung legislative team ng SIPAC Party List, ay we have the so-called possession of the summary of the Commission Audit Report for year ending December 31, 2020, revealing that financial transactions made in the total amount of 66.28 billion have procedural and documentary deficiencies. The breakdown of the amount are the following. Number one po, the fund transfer to DBM Procurement Service PS and other agencies without memorandum of agreement or MOA and other supporting documents, amounting 42 billion 412 million and 302,819.95 billion. Pangalawa po, yung unobligated amount for the payment of Special Risk Allowance, SRA, and Active Hazard Duty Pay, amounting 11 billion 890 million 217,589.50 billion. Pangatlo po, yung procedural deficiencies in the procurement and documentation of various contracts amounting 5 billion 38 million 428 plus million. So 5 billion po yung negative. At yung isa po ay non-implementation of foreign assisted projects including procurement of medical equipment and patient transport vehicles amounting 3 billion 421 million 390,418. Kabuuan po nito ay 12 puntos po. Itong 66.28 billion na transaction ng Department of Health dito po sa tinatawag na emergency needs ng ating gobyerno regarding this COVID-19 response. Gusto ko pong mag-concentrate lang sa 2 o 3 because of the limited time. Uno po, nais ko pong Mr. Chairman, natanungin lamang ang marahil ang COA. Kung totoo po ito hanggang ngayon, until this date,
Chairman,
ito pong, yes, according to COA, out of total 47.7 billion funds transferred to PSDBM or Department of Budget Management since March 2020 until now, only 44.3 billion were obligated with purchase orders and supply contracts. Out of this obligated 44.3 billion, only supplies in total amount of 29.9 billion were delivered, leaving us undelivered procured supplies in the total amount of 14.3 billion. Kaya gusto ko pong itanong sa Honorable Representative of COA, kung ito pong isinabmit nila sa Committee on Good Government, Mr. Chairman, ng House of Representatives, at as of this date, ay totoo pa rin po ba ito na sa 47 plus billion ay ang covered ng contracts, purchase and orders ay 44 billion plus, meron pong total delivered na 29 billion 953 million 747,025.54. So madali pong salita, kasi po hindi po ako nagtatanong tungkol sa Pharmaceutical Corporation. Gusto ko pong ito'y bahagi lang doon sa kabuuan. Gusto ko pong itanong ang COA kung totoo po itong hanggang ngayon as of this day na meron pang total undelivered na 14 billion 393 million 528,937.56. Yun po ang unang gusto ko lang malinawagan from COA while our people are viewing this program right now. Please.
Magandang hapon po.
Mr. Chairman, ang tinagawa ng COA, please.
Magandang hapon po, Mr. Chairman, and belated happy birthday po. To answer the question, meron pong update sinabit na po ang Department of last week. Hindi ko po alam yung detalye, pero meron na updates from those figures po.
Nakalagay po rito sa research group na nagsabit sa akin na Mr. Chairman, of course, the Honorable Chairman COA, Mr. Mike Aguinaldo, glad to meet you this time. Ito pong 14 billion plus undelivered ho ang nakalagay sa official report ng COA sa Committee on Good Government. Ito po ba ay totoo hanggang ngayon o meron na mga subsequent changes? Please.
Meron na po siguro mga subsequent changes kasi nga po nakapag-submit na po ang DOH ng mga updates doon sa mga observations na binabasa niyo po kanina. And na-submit na po yun doon sa auditor. So ina-evaluate po ngayon ng auditor yung mga submissions po nila. Unfortunately, I don't have the figures kung ano yung update doon sa delivery. Pero alam ko may sinabit po sila doon sa auditor po.
Pwede po bang masabi niyo ngayon sa ating hearing na ito ang listahan po ng mga allocated funds sa mga biniling mga specific equipment or medical equipment and or devices concerning this I would say government's action on COVID-19 pandemic.
Mr. Chairman, we can supply that data. I don't have it with me right now, pero pwede po namin isubmit po sa committee.
Well, the data shows that we have unutilized amount of 2.3 billion in last year 2020 funds. May I inquire what is the funding source of this amount? Are these bayanihan funds? If this is unutilized, will these funds still be used this year? What are the reasons why these funds were not used?
Your Honor, yung huling tanong po, siguro DOH po makakasagot po niyan. Pero yung earlier question niyo po, kung marami po, yung 42 billion was funded by Bayanihan 1. So kung hindi po na-obligate yan by June 30, 2021, maglalapse po yung pondo niyo.
Pwede po bang sa oras na ito ay marinig natin ang kinatawan ng Department of Health? Dahil ito po isa sa napakahalagang tanong din sa akin sa mga coffee shops na sa mga chat rooms po namin. Gusto ko lang pong patunayan sa lahat na seryoso ang House of Representatives sa ginagawa po nating hearing. Pwede po bang marinig ang kinatawan ng Department of Health? Kung andyan pa po, the Honorable Secretary, much better, or any representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Magandang tanghali po sa inyong lahat, Your Honors. Pwede ko po bang, I would like to respectfully request that you please recognize Director Rowena Laura of the Administration and Finance Management Office. Director Rowena Laura.
Then Laura.
Good afternoon. Good morning po, Your Honor. Regarding
Yes,
po,
Director, please.
Opo, yung pong question nyo kanina, kung yung pong 42 billion, kung magagamit pa this year, hindi na po, kasi po yung SARO nun is until December 31 lang po talaga.
So sa madaling salita, nabalik po ba yan sa Treasury?
Hindi po sir, nasa PSDBM po yung pondo na yun. Tapos po, sa pagkakaalam po namin, kung ano po yung mga naging savings ng isang taon, ay i-request po ulit yun ng pampili pa rin po ng mga PPE or other commodities relative to COVID-19 po.
Director, what are the reasons why these funds were not used?
Sa 42 billion, sir, ang alam namin, sir, naggamit yan, sir. Baka po ang anong yun sa 11 billion po ba na unobligated allotment po at year-end po?
Ulitin ko po, Director, no? The data shows that we have unutilized amount of 2.3 billion in last year 2020 funds. May I inquire what is the funding source of this amount? Are these Bayanihan funds? If this is unutilized, will these funds still be used this year? What are the reasons why these funds were not used? Just for the information of our public, please.
Okay, sir. Sa 2.3 po, baka po yan po yung Bayanihan 1. Bayanihan 1 po, meron po kaming balance of allotment na 22.3 billion last December 31 under Bayanihan 1. Tama po ba?
Well,
okay po, yan po siya.
Well, pwede, sabi niyo, baka.
Opo, kung 2.3 billion po under Bayanihan 1, foreign assisted project po yung 4.7 billion doon. Foreign assisted project po na hindi po natuloy ang mga procurement. And then, ang Government of the Philippines fund lang po doon is around 976 million. Mayroon po tayong break for the 976 million. mayroon po tayong savings po din sa mga procurement na nasa loob po ng 976 million. And around 366 million of the 976 million po is unutilized po for the salaries po sana ng mga HRH na wala na pong takers at that time, November and December.
So, Director, para lang po hindi maghalo-halo sa isip ng mga tao na nanonood po sa atin. Ano? Ito pong tanong ko kanina sa ating Honorable Chairman ng COA, yung nakalagay dito sa official report ng COA sa Committee on Good Government ay ang total delivery ay umaabot lang ng 29 billion plus total delivery. Pero inamin po, nakalagay sa report, official report ng COA, merong 14 plus billion na undelivered. Ano po ang kondisyon ngayon ng 14 billion na yon? Nasaan po yon? At bakit hindi nagamit?
Opo.
Please.
Opo. Sir,
Curious lang po kami
opo.
kasi we are studying carefully this matter just to show to the people na hindi moro-moro ang hearing dito sa House of Representatives. Ano?
Opo.
Kaya bilang ako nagpa-participate as Deputy Speaker for Good Governance and Moral Uprightness, with due respect to all concerned, I'm so sincere in knowing the facts. So dahil po, nakipag-usap po tayo sa tao eh.
Opo,
Kaya
sir.
yun po ang aking yun po. Ano po, nasaan po yung 14, yung undelivered na 14 billion?
Kung sir, ang cut-off po niyan is December 31 na report ng BBM, it might be po that from January to June, mayroon na rin pong mga deliveries yan, sir.
Alam po ninyo, ito po ay na-submit August 16, 2021. Hindi ho nung December lang. August 16, 2021. Kaya ho, interesado po ang mga mamamayan na maintindihan. Ano nangyari? Bakit may 14 billion undelivered? At yung sa pinag-uusapan nung kanina na mga na-deliver, na pakinabangan, nasa loob lang po yun ng 29 billion na na-deliver. What about the 14 billion? Ganun lang po ka-simple ang tanong po eh. Sinisimplify ko lang po ito. Kasi nga, palagay ko lahat naman ng honorable members of the House of Representatives are very interested to know the truth. As Jesus said, that you will know the truth and the truth shall set you free. Kaya po, interesado po tayo ron. Pasensya na po kayo kung ako'y medyo makulit ng konti dahil gusto ko lang maintindihan bago natin iwanan yung issue na ito. No? Yung punto na ito.
Okay lang po yun, Your Honor. Naintindihan ko po, yun nga lang po, yung po kasing na-report po sa COA is, yun nga po, ang cut-off niyan is as of December 31. But I know for a fact na through our supply chain management office, may mga report of deliveries pa rin po from January onwards until now po. Ongoing pa rin po ang deliveries ng PSDBM.
10 minutes.
So meron po kayong umaasa po ba na meron pang delivery this coming October?
Yes, sir. Meron pa rin po, sir. Yung iba po rin kasi, sir, is kulang lang din po sa mga documentation kaya hindi rin po mailibro siya hanggang ngayon ng maayos. Hinihintay pa rin po namin yung mga property transfer report na manggagaling din po sa DBM, PSDBM po, para po mailibro din po lahat ng deliveries po.
With due respect, with the permission of the chairman, one point na lang po, no? Kasi hindi naman po, ayoko na pong magtanong tungkol sa family, kung ano man. Meron lang po rito, Mr. Chairman, may inquire what is the status of the procurements under these funds now. Ito pong funds, I am referring to the foreign assisted projects. Nakataya po ito, nakataya ang international dignity and honor ng ating bansa. Dahil ito po ay foreign assisted projects na ayon sa report ng COA ay ito po yung naglalaman ng mahigit 3 billion. Mahigit 3 billion undelivered, unutilized equipment. Kaya po napakahalaga po na mabigyan natin ng linaw ito. Dahil nakataya po rito, as I have said, before the window of international community of nations ay ang honor and dignity ng ating pamahalaan. Kaya po, kaya gusto ko pong maintindihan lang, are these already delivered and being utilized now? At kung na-deliver po ito, Ms. Director, ano po mga specific project that should be funded or be procured by these funds? Can this representation be given the list of such projects, the corresponding amount, and delivery status? Yun lang po. Pwede po ba marinig ang matapat na kasagutan ng ating ginagalang na Director?
Yes, or Your Honor, isasubmit po namin yung mga listahan po ng mga natuloy pong project under the foreign assisted project. Sa inyo
At this point of time, out of 3.4 billion, referring to the so-called foreign assisted projects, ilan po ang nagamit doon sa 3.4 billion at this moment po, September 27, 2021.
Your Honor, ang nangyari po kasi dyan, dahil po galing po yung foreign assisted loans na yan under ang program appropriation, naglaps na po yan. So, ang nangyari po ngayon, kung ano po yung appropriation under the GAA 2021 for the foreign assisted projects, which is the World Bank and Asian Development Bank, yun po muna ang ginamit para doon sa mga proyekto na nabinbin o hindi natuloy nung year 2020. And then ngayon, halos paubos na po yung pondo for GAA 2021 ng foreign assisted project. Kaya po nag-uumpisa na rin po na i-request po ng reissuance yung SARO na yan na last year na hindi po nagamit.
Pwede po bang pakisubmit nyo lang po sa office ng Citizens Battle Against Corruption Office or si Party List Office, yung pong sinasabi yung utilization na nagawa dito sa pondo ng 3.4 billion foreign assisted projects.
Opo,
At alam po natin na tayong lahat ay accountable to the Filipino people. Kaya gusto lang po nating magkaroon ng klarong understanding. At ako po ay nagpapasalamat sa butihing chairman ng Committee on Good Government, Congressman, Chairman Glipay. Thank you for this time that you have given us. I am saying that may God bless all of us and God bless the Philippines. Thank you po.
Thank you. Yes, Brother Eddie, we are happy for your participation and welcoming it for the next hearing on October 4 for further examination and interpellation. Next to interpellate is Congressman Ferdy Gaite.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Magandang umaga po. Naririnig po ako.
Magandang hapon po. Narinig po kayo.
Siya na po at hindi ako nakadalo physically ngayon. Bagamat buti na lang nag-false positive. Yung nag-false positive yung aking kasama sa sasakyan na nakaraan.
We are happy for your help, Congressman.
Salamat po. At sa inyo po rin po, mga bati po ako ng isang belated na parawan, Mr. Chair.
Thank you po.
Okay. Sa napakahalagang pinag-uusapan po natin ngayon, ang usapin hinggil sa inilabas ng Commission on Audit na findings regarding the utilization of the Department of Health's budget under the Bayanihan 1 and 2, among others. Ito na nga po yung lumalabas na issue sa usapin ng involved ng mga questionable na transactions na ipinasok ng PSDBM na inatasan ng Department of Health na mag-procure ng kanilang mga pangangailangan, especially during this pandemic. It was repeated that despite the fact that Department of Health ang dati nang bumibili ng PPEs and other necessities of our Department of Health for our health workers, for our patients, and others, ay pinili nga na idaan sa PSDBM. Kung kaya't dito nagkakaroon ng maraming katanungan. Nung nakarang pagpupulong, Mr. Chair, humingi ako ng kopya ng schedule ng supply ng iba't ibang PPEs as required by the PSDBM. Kasi ang lagi ko narinig at paulit-ulit na dito sa pagpupulong na ito. Yung sinasabing...
We acknowledge receipt of the requirement of Congressman Garte.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At sana po mabigyan rin po ako ng kopya. Kasi ang gusto ko pong ma-establish, maintindihan.
Opo.
Yung sinasabi pong... salamat po. Kasi yung sinasabing, Mr. Chair, na kulang. So pag sinabing kulang, dapat nakabatay ito sa konkretong pangangailangan of the Department of the PSDBM or Department of Health based on their requirements. At ano yung current levels ng inventory levels ng PSDBM, including the Department of Health, dahil sila naman yung major user nito. At ikalawa, kung sino yung mga suppliers. So sana po, kung nandiyan na po, ay mabigyan ng tinatawag ito ng lahat ng hinihingi nung I think this was 2 Mondays ago during our first hearing, kung ako nagkakamali, pagalang-galang na chair.
We will give all the records provided to us last Friday.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nung nandun po sa pagtatanong sa Parmali, and I believe Mr. Michael Yang is there, and I was also listening dun sa naganap na hearing sa Senado. At ang tanong ko po patungkol sa Parmali ay kung siya ba yung direktang nagpautang at ang claim po niya ay hindi po sila ang direktang nagpautang. Si Michael Yang did not lend money to Parmali, pero sila lamang yung nag-source ng mga pwedeng mag-provide ng financial assistance sa Parmali. Natanong ata ito, pero hindi masyado malinaw yung pagkabiglas. Sino-sino, may binanggit na po siya mga pangalan. I believe many of them were Chinese citizens. Pwede ho bang paulit sa ating kagalang-galang na Michael Yang yung mga pangalan ng ni-refer niya si Mr. Lincoln Ong ng Parmali para matulungan dun sa funding ng kanilang pag-supply ng PPEs sa PSDBM. Mr. Chair.
Honorable Gaite, wala po si Michael lang ngayon. Hindi nag-attend. Si Lincoln Ong po nasa Pasay City Jail. Matatanong niya lang po yung presidente ng Parmali, si Wang Ju. Parmali.
Sige po, kung pwede po, kung kaya niya pong sagutin ang hindi niya siguro masasagot ang katanungan ito.
Mr. Wang Ju.
Present, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Congressman Gaite is asking if you have the names of those who loaned supplies or money to you during the transaction last year.
Mr. Chairman, personally, as I've stated in the Senate hearing, I was not part of the negotiation between Mr. Lincoln Ong and Mr. Michael Yang. And furthermore, I believe there is a memorandum of such agreement present. I was not privy to the content of that memorandum because I think there's a clause of confidentiality. Only Mr. Lincoln Ong himself would know the exact details of that. But I believe Mr. Michael Yang mentioned 4 names in the Senate hearings. I think they call on the long of Meow Meow. I can't recall the rest. And so I cannot fully tell you the names of those. Apologies, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Thank you for that information. Mr. Chair, did we have these personalities subpoenaed for this hearing? Because I believe, naniniwala po ako na they can shed light.
Can you give us, can you give us the names by 9 o'clock a.m. tomorrow, and we will invite for the next hearing. Give us the names, Sir Ferdinand Gaite. Please give COMSEC. We will send invitation.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Kahit yung mga pangalan, I think were already mentioned in testimony of Michael Yang. If I'm not mistaken, doon sa unang-una nating hearing. Ang problem dahil medyo garbled or sound, hindi ko rin po na-pick up. May we ask
wala po kaming address nila eh. So the research natin. Sabi ni COMSEC, there are many people named that same name. So we cannot those names are very common in Chinese. The one mentioned, COMSEC is telling me. So we need contact details if you can help us. Or we will send it to Michael Yang. Send the invitation care of Michael Yang, COMSEC, as requested by Congressman Gaite.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Importante ito sa tingin ko dahil ito na nga yung sinisikap natin ma-establish, no? Michael Yang claims na hindi direkta sa kanya ang pera, pero meron silang mga financiers na nag
10 minutes.
Nag-guarantee. So, ang isa pa hong katanungan, and this one is addressed to PSDBM. Ito po yung paulit-ulit na usapin kung ano ang ginamit nilang basis for the award. Pinalalabas na yung una ay yung batas sa procurement law, no? Republic Act, if I'm not mistaken, 1994 ba? Nagkakamali. Pero ang sinasabi, we were transitioning to the law. But at the time that it was procured, the existing na bata, yung existing na law ay yung procurement law pa rin, which actually already provides a mechanism para sa negotiated bid. Kaya hindi ko lang maintindihan doon sa mga paliwanag na parang tila ginagamit itong pamantayan na ito para sa basis ng procurement doon sa quote-unquote provision ng Bayanihan Law or Republic Act 11469, yung sinasabing expeditious na paraan ng procure. Mr. Chair, if you remember, kami po ay nag-oppose dito sa Bayanihan 1 and 2 for that reason. Natatakot kami na dahil tinatanggal natin o ini-exempt natin sa procurement law ang pagbili ng mahalagang aspeto, despite the fact that there are already provisions within that law, especially sa ganitong panahon na kailangan ng mga negotiated bids, ay lalo pa natin niluwagan yung proseso. Yeah, Mr. Chair, sa PSDBM, kanina nga may mahabang paliwanag si former PSDBM head Mr. Attorney Lau, no? Ano ba talaga yung prevailing na batas at the time na in-award nyo yung initial na 500 masks dito sa family? What was the prevailing law when this was ordered? Kasi ang sinasabi mismo ninyo, totoo, same day, medyo kami nga ay surprise. Paano nila na-access yung information na kailangan nyo kagad ng ganyang karami? Pero ano yung prevailing law at the time na tinocure nyo yung dumaan kayo sa negotiated bid for the procurement of the initial order of masks with Pharmaly,
May
Mr.
I be
Chair.
allowed to answer? Okay, Mr. Chairman, in response, to clarify the timelines, Bayanihan Law 1 took effect on March 25. It was published on the official Gazette on March 25. The notice of award was issued on April 6. The purchase order was issued on April 6. That by itself would show that the notice of award was issued 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think 13 days or 18 days after the effectivity of Bayanihan 1. That is clear presentation that it was procured under Bayanihan 1.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Tony Lau. Ang mahirap lang unawain ay yung mga nagaganap na transaction before the actual awarding was already proceeding, and the prospective application of the Bayanihan 1 was already being, yun na yung ginagamit na pamantayan sa pag-award nito. Kaya nakakabahala po, no, na parang nauuna yung kabayo kaysa sa cart, no? Kasi nauna yung cart bago yung kabayo. Kasi parang lumalabas na meron na tayong ginagawang mahakbang na in the evaluation of Pharmaly and other companies ay doon sa provision ng dapat originally sa procurement no ang ginamit ay ina-adjust na natin para dito sa ilalim ng Bayanihan 1. At yung nilabas yung belated na circular regarding the procurement under Bayanihan 1, yung pamantayan na luluwagan nga ang procurement na process. Pero nevertheless, kahit na meron kayong in-issue na bagong circular, I believe it was dated April 6, hindi naman talaga tinanggal pa rin yung proviso na dapat ang mga suppliers must be financially, must be technically, must be legally capable. And I think it was in the annex, no? Wala siya doon sa main portion ng GPPB circular, but it was in the annex. Na yun pa rin ang pamantayan. But you lowered the requirements. At yung requirements na lamang ay submission of the income tax return, among others. Mr. Chair, income tax return para malaman kung financially capable itong Pharmaly with a 625,000 capitalization, walang track record. And as I understand, no? This was the first time. Tama ba yung pagkaintindi ko? I think I heard it earlier. Wala pang transaction
5 minutes.
ang Pharmaly before it was given this award of for the PPEs. So tama ba yun, Mr. Chair?
May I be allowed
Can
to
we have an answer?
May I be allowed to answer, Mr. Chairman? I think
Answer.
the question being raised at present has been answered, I think, for the last 3 hearings in Congress already. And I think it has been, the answer has been repeatedly answered for 7 hearings already in the House of Senate. But I'll answer it again. One, they are financially capable, yung issue dun, financial status, is based on their status, whether or not nagbabayad ba sila ng tax. Do they have legal personality to contract? They have, because may mayor's permit sila. Meron din silang nagbabayad sila ng tax. Yun po ang basis natin.
Mr. Chair, yes, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I would like to,
yes,
sorry, I just have 5 minutes. No? So sinabi ni Mr. I don't think you can establish financial capability by a mere income tax. Nagbayad ako ng piso tax, I'm financially capable? Of course not. It just means that I was ang aking tax na kailang bayaran ay maliit na halaga. Pero kahit itong sinasabi niyong track record, yung kanyang capacity, no, para i-supply ito, kaya nga gusto natin ma-establish itong sinasabing sources ng funds ng Pharmally. Kasi nga, hindi pa actually sa kanila nanggaling yung ito yung lumalabas sa hearing sa Senate that the 27 pesos, I think this was for the face masks, was bought from Tiger Phil at 23.90. So may markup na sila, which was also bought from another company. Itong Green, pangalan itong kumpanyang isa to. So lumalabas na if we had diligently Green Trends. So meaning na costing 18 pesos per face mask at that time. Medyo mahal pa rin at that time pero tama kayo dahil sinasabing kulang kailangan makapaghanap. Kaya nga sana ma-establish na ito dun sa inventory requirements nyo, not by just alleging na kulang, wala kaming mabilihan, pero sinasabi nyo on the other hand, meron ng mga ibang suppliers na ready na mag-supply nito. Bagamat Pharmally was able, I understand, to corner a large portion of the, at least for face mask. Gano'ng kalaking porsyento ba? At the time that
4%.
4% of the total. Okay? Amounting to
4%. Kasi ang total ang na-supply nila is only, I think, roughly around 12.5 million.
2 minutes.
The total awards that we issued until at present is almost 200 million pieces.
So these are just face masks, Mr. Chair.
Yes, that's face mask. 4% po ang sinupply nila. So, kung sinabi mong kinorner, dapat mas malaki pa doon. Second, to answer yung financial capability, as any businessman would actually assess, financial capability is you check whether or not my capacity to deliver. The issue here with Pharmally is they are bringing the items for delivery.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I understand. Did you verify kung yung mga gamit na yon, Mr. Chair, ay pag-aari nila? Ano ang inyong evidence that these were probably, hindi natin alam, I'm not saying na, hindi na ako lang pala, but they supplied, ito na sila, nandiyan na sa harap nyo, binadala na 5 in the evening. So, Mr. Chair,
yes, that is
raised by the previous resource person, accountant Monobrea, dapat diligence. Okay, so I'm sorry, medyo I will have to ito na lang, closing na lang dahil alam ko kulang na ako sa oras. I understand we will also, Mr. Chair, we were voting via Viber the subpoena of a certain
Mr. Mago has 10 votes. We need 11 more.
Okay, so that is for the next hearing, Mr. Chair, I understand.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I will be reserving some questions because alarming rin yung lumabas sa nilalabas ng Senate ngayon na accordingly she was ordered to change the expiry date of certain face shields. That is a clear violation, ano? Dahil ito ay gagamitin ng ating healthcare workers at kung itong mga face shields ay expired dahil ang pagkaintindi ko hindi simpleng face shields to, ito ay medical grade. Merong I think a special coating to prevent further contamination. But if these face shields do not meet the standards, no, or maikli na lamang yung kanilang tinatawag na expiry date, then may danger na yung ating users ito ay maapektuhan. Kaya Mr. Chair, I would be reserving some questions, but for now, ito nga no, parang sibuyas itong problema, Mr. Chair. Every day, binabalatan natin, may bagong lumalabas. Parang balatan na naman, may bagong lalabas. Babalatan, may lalabas na naman. And sana ito nga yung objective natin sa committee ito para ma-uncover ang katotohanan. Dahil for every instance that new evidence are uncovered, I think it is paramount for this committee on good government to know the truth. Sabi nga ni DS Villanueva. The truth shall set us free. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Next to interpolate, Honorable Ron Salo of
Maraming salamat
Kabayan.
po, Mr. Chair, for giving me opportunity to make certain clarifications. Mr. Chair, may I respectfully ask the GPPB representative?
Deputy Executive Director, please proceed.
Mr. Chair, the GPP representative.
Yes, Your Honor, I'm here po, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, magandang hapon po sa inyo, Miss. Sorry, hindi
Elisa
ko po.
Santiago yan po.
Yes, Miss Melissa Santiago yan. Based po sa, Mr. Chair, based po sa, kapag pag-uusapan po natin yung RA 9184, based sa mga eligibility requirements for the procurement of goods and infrastructure projects, may 3 pong documents, tama po ba, na binabanggit in general? Doon sa Class A documents, we have legal documents, we have technical documents and financial documents. Tama ba yon?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
If I may, or if, kung may kopya kayo, pwede nyo po bang in a nutshell, pwede bang banggitin ano ba yung mga legal documents? Ano ba yung technical documents? Ano ba yung mga financial documents?
For the legal documents po na Class A, that would be the mayor's or business permit. And then we have the DTI certificate or SEC certificate or CDA certificate, registration certificate, and then the tax clearance. And then for the financial documents, that would be the annual tax return. Wait lang po. Have the audited financial statements and then also the NFCC or the committed line of credit for goods, and then for the technical capability or technical documents, that would be for the SLCC or the statement of single largest completed contract, and then we also have for the pickup license for infrastructure, pickup license and registration for infrastructure projects. And we also have the statement of all ongoing contracts.
Klaro po, ano? So, ibig sabihin po, itong mga documents na binabanggit po ninyo, Ms. Melissa yan, exhaustive po ito na po yun. Tama ba? For procurement under 9184.
Yes, for the eligibility documents, Your
For
Honor.
eligibility
Plus,
documents.
for joint venture, if it's a joint venture bidder, Your Honor, may Class B documents po na tinatawag. So that would be
Yes.
the joint venture agreement or the notarized statement, depending
Yes.
po.
So, thank you. Ang tanong ko, Ms. Melissa, pwede bang bawasan ng procuring entity yung mga requirements na ito?
For the competitive bidding process po kasi itong Class A documents na minention natin, hindi po to pwedeng bawasan or hindi din po siya pwedeng dagdagan.
So,
Streamline.
klaro po, ano? Ms. Melissa yan, samulangan lang tayo doon sa binanggit mo po. For competitive bidding, binabanggit po ninyo, hindi pwedeng bawasan at hindi rin pwedeng dagdagan. So, klaro po yon. So, kung ano yung nakasulat po rito sa RA 9184, Implementing Rules and Regulations, yun po yun ang dapat susundan. So, klaro, hindi pwedeng magdagdag, hindi pwedeng magbawas. Bakit kaya? Bakit hindi pwedeng magdagdag at hindi pwedeng magbawas?
This is for yung competitive bidding process. Ang ano po kasi, ang based on the historical background on why this was...
In a nutshell, short lang po.
Kasi po, we do not want din po na maging masyadong tedious or masyado pong marami yung hinihinging documents for purposes of eligibility.
But at the same time, tama po ba na hindi nyo rin gusto na magkaroon pa ng additional discretion yung procuring entity kung ano yung mga gusto nilang hingin na dokumento? Tama ba?
Yun din po yung isang reason because yun nga, hindi na po...
Why? Because...
ang nangyari po pag nadadagdagan po kasi, pwede po kasing magkaroon ng, kumbaga, hindi na po nasa-streamline yung process, plus nagkakaroon po ng discretion, pwede pong kaya po dinadagdag para po may ma-exclude or may maano po.
I-include. And tama po kayo doon. And precisely, ang intention po nito is to prevent anyone yung discretion. Kasi kapag may pumapasok yung discretion, doon din pumapasok po yung opportunities for graft and corruption. Tama ba yon?
Based on experience, yes po. That's also the reason behind the enactment of RA 9184.
Thank you, Ms. Melissa yan. So ang tanong ko naman dito, dahil ito yung binabanggit ng RA 9184, pagdating naman dito sa procurement under the Bayanihan Law, ano yung mga requirements? So I suppose, based doon sa binabanggit po ni Executive Director Yusek Rowena Ruiz, nung nakaraan, hindi pa rin naman natanggal po yon yung requirements. Mayroon pa rin po tayo na tatlo yung binanggit mo. Legal, meron kang technical, meron ka pa rin na financial. Yes. Pero ano na ngayon ang requirements under the Bayanihan?
For the Bayanihan law po, under Circular 1-2020, the requirements would be the mayor's permit or yung kung if expired po siya yung OR. And then we also have the income or business tax returns. And then we also have po yung omnibus warrant statement kasi may para po to streamline the process. May mga provisions po tayo na nasa omnibus warrant statement for accountability also and to safeguard still our procurement. And then for infra, we have the NFCC.
Huwag na muna tayo doon sa infra. Dito lang po tayo sa goods and services. So klaro po yung binabanggit mo, na-maintain pa rin yung legal, na-maintain yung financial, na-maintain yung sa technical requirements, pero very specific lang, tig-isa lang ata based doon sa binabanggit mo. Tama ba yon?
Yes po, Your Honor.
Sino ang nag-set ng requirements na ito?
This was set by the GPPB po.
This was set by the GPPB consistent with the Bayanihan Law that was passed by Congress. Tama ba yung assessment na yon?
Yes po.
Okay. Ang tanong, pagdating po sa Bayanihan Law, procurement under the Bayanihan Law, may discretion ba ngayon yung mga procuring entity na magdagdag o magbawas?
Wala po kasing provision there that states the discretion of the procuring entity. The provision in the Bayanihan Law merely gives the President the authority to procure with the exemption from the provisions of RA 9184.
Yes, ang tinatanong ko ngayon kasi President tapos nag-issue through GPPB yung binabanggit mo. So yung mga requirements na yon, in-issue yan pursuant to the powers of the GPPB. Tama ba? Ngayon, bababa ngayon pagdating doon sa mga hensya, yung mga nagpro-procure. Mayroon ba silang discretion na magdagdag o magbawas doon sa Senate ng GPPB?
Wala rin naman pong prohibition on whether they could add or not. Ang ano lang po is that ito yung safeguards, ito po yung documentary requirements.
Parang hindi tayo nagkakatugma, nagkaka-agree, Ms. Melissa yan. Kasi binanggit mo kanina, based doon sa competitive bidding, RA 9184, hindi pwedeng magdagdag, hindi pwedeng magbawas. Di ba?
Yes.
Kasi may pinoprotektahan tayo. Sabi mo rin, bawal din yung discretion na pumasok. Kaya nga klaro kung ano lang yung pwede nilang hingin. Ngayon, ganun din, pagmasok po tayo ngayon doon sa bayanihan, or while it is true, binabanggit ng the most expeditious, pagdating ng translation, nandito yung GPPB ngayon, kayo, where you sit as member ng secretariat, where you issued that particular guidelines, ano yung mga pwedeng dapat hingin ng mga procuring entity? Tama ba? Yes.
Yes po.
The answer is yes. So my question is, inisinet ng GPPB kung ano yung mga pwedeng hingin ng mga procuring entity. The next question is, pwede ba nilang bawasan yon o dagdagan?
Unlike po kasi sa yung minention ko po kanina under RA 9184, meron po kasi talagang provision doon that only the following documents shall be required by the BAC. So it's really very clear that they cannot add or subtract from the eligibility documents. For Circular 1-2020, wala naman pong ganong provision, but yun po yung provision natin or yun po yung documentary requirements that we require po.
Okay. So ibig sabihin, if they comply with all those documents, then that particular procurement is compliant with the guidelines issued by the GPPB. Tama ba?
Yes po. If for example po the
Oh,
documents
yes, yes or no.
Yes po.
Kapag nag-comply nga sila, hiningi nila yung mga requirements na sinet po ng GPPB. So, ibig sabihin that particular procurement is compliant.
Yes po, basta po yung documents po na sinubmit would show also na legally, technically, financially capable po.
Yes,
of course,
given po yun eh.
For compliance, yes.
Siniset ko na nga yung premise sa'yo kanina eh, kaya ako pina-identify
Yes.
sa'yo eh. So ngayon, nilagay po ninyo yung mga dapat nilang hingin, and kapag nag-procure sila ngayon, kung consistent sila doon sa particular items na yun, documents na yun, then ibig sabihin, compliant sila doon sa requirements na siniset ng batas
Compliance
through the
po sir
guidelines.
with the requirements. But
Yes.
subject of course to validation po in evaluation.
Yes.
Similar
Wala
with
tayong
our-
sinasabi eh. You're adding or you're going beyond the question eh.
Okay
Klaro
po.
yung question ko lang naman eh. So kapag nag-procure sila, based on that particular list of documents that they should require, the bidders or the suppliers, then they are complying with what is
Yes.
required under the law. Okay, thank you. Thank you. So pupunta naman po ako sa PSDBM.
5 minutes.
Simple lang po ito, mabilis lang po ito, Mr. Chair. Medyo yung sagot kasi kanina hindi medyo maraming idinadagdag eh. So pwedeng makausap si Yusek Lau.
Director Jolas Brutas of the
Sa PSDBM si Yusek Lau.
Present po, present Mr.
Yes.
Chair.
Nung pinrocure nyo po ninyo yung sa Pharmaly, ano yung mga documents na binabanggit po natin kanina? Did they comply with all those documents that were mentioned by the GPPB?
Yes. Tatlo lang po. Mayor's permit, omnibus sworn statement, and the ITR, income tax return. And yes,
Okay.
they did comply.
So klaro po that they complied with those documents. Ang tanong, ilan po yung mga nag-supply lahat? Ilang beses na po itong nabanggit po dito?
Sa PPE sets, I think 17 suppliers. Sa surgical face mask, I think 7 or 8.
Ang tanong, ginamit nyo rin ba yung parameters na yon, all those requirements, those documents that you mentioned, yun din ba yung hiningi ninyo doon sa mga ibang mga suppliers?
Yes, we implemented the same standard and the same principle po.
So hindi kayo nagbigay ng pagtatangyo special consideration dito sa Pharmaly?
No po, we don't do that. Kasi meron lang kaming checklist na sinusunod. Yun lang po.
So klaro, Mr. Chair, that the same documents were required also of all the other bidders or to suppliers because did not go undergo bidding. So, ibig sabihin po nito, wala po tayong sinisingle out po dito na ito, tatlo lang yung hingi natin requirements para kay Pharmaly. Pero dito kay New Life, dito kay Cosmic, dito kay Health Wellness, dito kay EMS, etc., dadagdagan natin yung requirements. Hindi po nangyari yun, Yusek Lloyd.
No, hindi po. Hindi po nangyari yun.
So, they were treated exactly the same.
Yes, we treated
There was no
everybody.
special consideration given to this particular company.
No special treatment were given to any company or any person. For
As a lawyer, Mr. Yusek Lau, kapag pinag-usapan yung due diligence as a lawyer, ano yung parameters ng measurement mo? Ano yung hinahanap mo ng mga documents?
Usually, proof of identity is the priority. Second, as to transactions, pag mayroong business transaction, dapat may TIN. So, tax identification number, legal capacity to transact, and ano po, yun lang. Basically, those are the
Yan
two
as a
things.
lawyer, klaro, ang hahanapin mo kung ano yung required ng batas. Tama?
Yes.
Kung ano yung required ng batas, yun yung hindi ka magkakamali po doon. Mali ka kapag ang sinabi mo nag-conduct ka ng due diligence as a lawyer and yet you miss something ng requirement ng batas.
Tama po.
Tama? For the
Tama
last
po.
item, thank you, Mr. Yusek Lau. Pwede kay Mr. Mona Bria. Mr. Abria,
CPA Abria.
are you still here?
Ito pa daw. Mr. Abria.
Mr. Abria,
Hanggang break yata.
wala na ba? Sayang naman the opportunity, Mr. Chair. And as much as napansin nga kanina, maraming awards si Mr. Abria. Isa din po sana ako
Wala na po.
sa
Umalis
kanya.
na po.
Wala na?
Opo. Tinanggap yung susunod na award.
Kasi Mr. Chair, I just wish to point out na yung binabanggit po niya na due diligence yon in the context ng isang accountant. Because Mr. Ebriye is an accountant. Na kapag pinag-usapan natin due diligence on accountant, yung binabanggit po niya, yung mga financial document, financial capacity, etc., from the point of view of an accountant. Not from the due diligence, from the point of view of a lawyer who has to comply with the requirements of the law. So doon po nagkakaiba po yun doon sa perspektibo. Na hindi ibig sabihin na kapag hindi mo hiningi ang mga yon, you did not conduct due diligence. Because the due diligence already set what is required by you as a procuring entity, as a person who will implement the law, kung ano yung hinihingi sa iyo ng batas. Yes, that may be desirable, but subalit, binabanggit nga natin kanina, with all the circumstances as well as, the fact is, hindi ka pwedeng magdagdag pagdating po dito sa procurement ng bagong requirement. Na kung hindi hinihingi ng batas, hihingin mo, then that becomes a violation. Kung hindi hinihingi po ng guidelines yung NFCC, pero ikaw ay hihingin mo doon sa bidder, then lumalabas po doon, you're violating the law, you're violating the guidelines. So ang tanong ko po ngayon, kung sinasabi po nila dapat nag-conduct ng ganito, dapat nag-submit po ng ganito, anong basis po noon? Because at the end of the day, if you do that, then you will be violating the law itself. Kasi pumapasok ngayon yung discretion na pinag-uusapan po natin. Because the law is clear, ito yung mga requirements, ito yung mga documents na dapat isubmit. And if the procuring entity complied with those requirements, with those documents, then there's no reason for us to say that there was no diligence that was conducted in the first place. Ngayon, panghuli, Mr. Chair, tatanungin ko lang po sa FDA.
1 minute ka na lang.
Yes, last na po ito sa FDA, kung nandito po sila.
Director General.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Domingo.
I'm here.
Yes, DG, magandang hapon po sa inyo. Binabanggit po na parinig ko po doon sa Senate hearing, hindi ko lang alam po kung nasagot niyo na po ito, na dapat daw 24 to 36 months ang shelf life ng mga COVID test kits na dineliver ng Pharmaly. Tama ba ito?
Well, noong pong panahon na yun, Mr. Chairman, yung mga test kit, bagong-bago po pa yan na teknolohiya, no? So newly developed. Kaya po, ang mga shelf life lang po ng available test kits as of last year, mga 6 months lamang po. Wala naman pong 12 to 24 months na available shelf life po na RT-PCR kits. Hanggang ngayon po, ang mga available kits, 6 to 12 months po. Maximum 12 months ang available.
So klaro po yun, there's no such thing as 12 to 24 months or 24 to 36 months even now.
Na RT-PCR test kits po wala. Yung mga test kits po ng mga ibang klase ng mga lumang-luma ng teknolohiya, yun po ang mga longer. No? Pero for RT-PCR test kits po, wala po.
Wala po. So klaro po, at the same time, binabanggit din rin po ninyo, sa pag-umpisa po ng that time, 6 months lang po yung shelf life ng mga COVID tests.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Totoo.
Ibig sabihin po, kasi kinu-question po na 6 months lang daw tong shelf life nung sinabit po ng Pharmaly, yung dineliver po nila. So ibig sabihin po noon, dahil 6 months at binabanggit ninyo, yun naman talagang shelf life, so ibig sabihin, compliant sila. And kung magre-require po tayo ng 24 months, at that time, it was not possible because that particular product doesn't exist at the time.
Compliant po sila sa registration po nila sa FDA, Mr. Chairman. Yes, opo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Wala na po akong itatanong. Maraming salamat.
Thank you.
Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Congressman Salon. Next to interpolate is Congressman Franz Castro. Congresswoman Franz, not here. Congressman Joe Jimenez. Please proceed. Unmute. Yes. You can interpolate.
Good morning, good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon to my dear colleagues, and good afternoon to our resource persons. May I inquire first, Mr. Chairman, if Mr. Mon Abrea is still with us?
He's absent. Already left the building.
Just to inquire, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry to pursue this, but did he ask permission to?
No, he did not ask permission.
Baka naman, Mr. Chairman, we can still call him for some questions.
Yes, we emailed, but he is not responding. Maybe next hearing we will make sure he's here. We have a little time because I'm gonna adjourn this at exactly 2 o'clock. Please
Yes, Mr.
proceed.
Chairman. I'll go direct to the point. To the lady from the GPPB, Mr. Chairman, may I ask some questions?
Hello, ma'am. Deputy Executive Director.
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, I'm here po.
Yes. May I ask you, Ma'am, to first read po ano yung pertinent provision sa Bayanihan 1 relating to the exemptions from the provisions of the Republic Act number 9184 or the Government Procurement Reform Act.
Wait lang po.
Yes po.
So for the Bayanihan 1, Your Honor, so under Section 4, so for the authorized powers pursuant to Article 6, Section 23(2) of the Constitution, the President is hereby authorized to exercise powers that are necessary and proper to carry out the declared national policy. The President shall have the power to adopt the following temporary emergency measures to respond to crisis brought by the pandemic. So under Section 4K, it provides undertake the procurement of the following as the need arises in the most expeditious manner as exemptions from the provisions of Republic Act number 9184 or the Government Procurement Reform Act and other relevant laws. And then the enumeration of all those goods and other infrastructure projects and other services that are to be procured under the Bayanihan Law 1.
What is your understanding on the word that was used there, exemptions?
It would be exempted from the provisions of RA 9184.
Yes po. So yung concern natin relating it to the query of DS Marcoleta doon sa circular that you issued, was that in response to the provision of the provision you read earlier to Bayanihan 1?
Yes, Your Honor.
So
That
wala
was
naman kayong
issued po.
So to your understanding, wala naman kayong ginawa doon that was more or less than Bayanihan 1?
Wala naman po, Your Honor. Actually, it's less restrictive as directed po by the memo from the Executive Secretary.
So yun po ang guidance nyo. So as far as yung transaction that was entered into between the government and Farmally, nasunod naman yung Bayanihan 1 natin.
I wouldn't be able to say that, Your Honor, because I have not seen all the documents, or I'm not familiar with the documents that were submitted or the transactions that have transpired. Your Honor.
But I'm sure you're aware Bayanihan 1 was pinasa po ito both by the Senate and by the House of Representatives.
Yes, Your Honor.
Sige po. I'm asking these questions kasi until now, issue pa rin na may mga provision sa Republic Act 9184 na pilit na sinasama sa usaping ito. Pero napakalinaw naman na binigyan ng poder ang presidente, ang executive branch natin to be exempted from the Procurement Act. Do I get it right, ma'am?
Yes, Your Honor.
So as far as yung mga ibang requirement natin on evaluation ng ating financial statements or technical experience nila, hindi naman siya ganun ka-stringent or stricto.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, ito naging concern ko ever since malinaw ang Procurement Act natin. But I'm just concerned tungkol sa mga issuances, circulars na ini-issue ng GPPB. So, anong nature nito? Is it a law by itself, or what are you trying to? These circulars are issued with the intention para maging klaro ang procurement law natin? Kasi I'm asking this because from the date na pinasa ang procurement law hanggang ngayon, I'm sure marami na talagang circular in-issue ng GPPB. So anong nature po ng GPPB anong nature ng GPPB circulars po?
For the GPPB circular, Your Honor, it would depend po on the subject matter. So it might provide po guidelines or rules, procurement rules, or it might provide po clarification, but it would be a policy issuance coming from the GPPB. So it's procurement policy po.
So is that
Procurement
equivalent
rules po.
Is that equivalent to a law?
Rules that would implement the procurement law or other laws po for the matter.
Just, well, I hate to really say a direct question po. Is that equivalent to a law? I'm sure maraming nakikinig din sa atin from the LGU now. Is that equivalent to a law?
It would, as mentioned, sir, if we're referring to the circular, because we have numerous circulars, it would depend po, sir, dun sa nature and subject matter. So it would be equivalent to a law, implementing po, the rules implementing the law.
Equivalent siya kung
it would depend po kasi on the subject matter of the circular. So if it would provide for guidelines, like in this instance, guidelines for implementing a particular law, like the procurement law or RA 9184 or the Bayanihan law, then it would be quasi-legislative or it would be equivalent po.
So but again, the provisions of Bayanihan 1 is very clear, lalong-lalo na doon sa exemption na binigay sa executive branch on procurement.
Yes.
Napakalinaw.
Hindi naman po siya sinubject to RA 9184, Your Honor.
Yes.
We just provide the GPPB just provided the rules po as by the executive secretary.
Thank you kasi yung issue ng kaya nga sinagot nyo kanina yung mga ibang dokumento na usually hinihingi natin sa bidding dito sa Bayanihan 1 hindi na siya required. Tama.
For competitive bidding po, yes, Your Honor.
Yes, precisely because hindi naman sinunod kasi ginamit natin dito yung Bayanihan 1. Thank you, ma'am. I'm sorry to ask again, sir, but wala pa rin po ba si Mr. Mon Abrea?
Wala po Wala po, sir.
Sige, kasi ako din, curious din ako magtanong sa kanya. Number one,
sir, pangatlo ka na lang sa next hearing para
pangatlo na ako.
October 4. Pangatlo.
After our deputy speakers, Mr. Chair.
Oh, sige.
And siguro I'll ask na lang Doc Sec Duque, Secretary Duque, Mr. Chairman.
Secretary Francisco Duque.
I'm here, Mr. Chairman, but I just would like to manifest before I give my answer, Mr. Chairman. With your permission, I have to leave a bit later, about 1:05. I will do a budget briefing
yes, sir.
with
10 minutes.
Congressman Jude Frasco. Okay, so I am ready to answer the question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sa balita ngayon tungkol sa issue ng face shield po. Malinaw sa atin na ang shelf life nito, as you stated earlier, is 36 months. So ang tanong, I'm sorry to ask this question, pero para maging malinaw sa publiko, ano po yung period ng face shield halimbawa that were given to our frontliners? Ano po ang expiry date nito? How many months would you consider na expired na ang isang face shield?
Well, based on the Mr. Chairman, ang correct technical term is the shelf life of 36 months. Actually, that is true for the entire personal protective equipment, yung PPEs, no? But since the face shield forms part of the PPEs, this is the reason why it has also been established that at least 36 months ang shelf life. So within that period, dapat magamit for the intended purpose. And as we have earlier indicated, ito naman po lahat ay nagamit batay sa report sa akin ng ating po mga healthcare workers.
Yung sinasabi nating face shield, Mr. Secretary, kanina tinanong to ni DS Marcoleta. I hope by this time may data na kayo. Yung tinanong tungkol sa were there any complaints galing po sa ating mga frontliners regarding po sa mga in-issue sa kanila, like for example, yung face shield. May mga reklamo ba tayo narinig from our frontliners? If you have any data from the DOH, sa DOH po?
Wala naman po. Based on the report of the Procurement and Supply Chain Management Office, wala naman pong reklamo na silang natanggap. Kanya, yun po masasabi ko, wala po.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Sana po lahat po ng regions makita natin kung may data ba na as to any complaints regarding sa mga PPs na in-issue natin. I think this is also important para sa taong bayan para makita natin. Mr. Chairman.
Meron po tayong feedback mechanism, Mr. Chairman, para malaman natin on the ground how our healthcare workers are utilizing our personal protective equipment, and that mechanism of feedback is very important. So meron po tayong minomonitor. Salamat po, Mr. Chairman.
So, sa panahon ito, wala tayong narinig na reklamo?
Well, as of the latest report to me, mukhang wala naman. But we cannot predict kung magkakaroon ba in the near future.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Chairman, if we can ask for a copy ng perhaps documented naman yung feedback mechanism ng DOH natin sa paggamit ng
Yes, we will ask for the
ating frontliners.
Yes.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, wala na akong ibang tanong in the meantime because as I was waiting.
In line with your topic, Congressman Joe Jimenez, I was thinking if I should raise this, but in the interest of public information, we are not here. As Congressman, one of our duties is to inform the public the truth. And I'd like to call out the attention of Rappler, Rambo Talabong, who wrote an article 11/20 on the Rappler page. Lawmaker, if face shields were expired, did anyone die? Quoting me. So it's okay to have articles. I commend this article, but let's be balanced and fair. In his article, he did not mention that Secretary Duque said that the shelf life of face shields is 36 months. Not a word on that. So it is one-sided, and I'm calling him out to be balanced because they are proclaiming to be a balanced organization, but this article of his never mentioned that Secretary Duque said that the shelf life is 36 months, and he only focused on my comment, making it appear that we are one-sided here and covering up the government. So I'm calling him out the way he called me out, that I am one-sided in this committee is one-sided. So I'm reversing it, and I'm just giving him a dose of his own medicine. He's not balanced. He did not mention the 36 months testimony of Secretary Duque. That's all po. Next to interpolate is yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, just a manifestation.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry hindi ko na-consume yung buong 20 minutes ko because I was reserving questions kay Sir Mon Abrea. I hope he will join us the next
Tagal
hearing.
ko ng 5 minutes yung next mo para 25 minutes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. And manifestation na rin because in another hearing, naririnig natin malaking issue ang that yung face shield daw has an expiry date of 6 months. And kaya nagiging material itong usaping ito doon sa issue naman na pinalitan daw accordingly yung manufacturing date ng mga produkto from 2020 ginawa I think to 2021. Pero dito naman sa investigasyon natin, sa hearing natin, napakalinaw na ang shelf life ng mga equipment na to, sinabi nga ni Secretary Duque, is 36 months. 36 months, that is equivalent to 3 years. Hindi po siya 6 months or equivalent to half a year. So I hope lang talaga po, Mr. Chairman, na naririnig tayo ng taong bayan and
attention, Rambo Talabong, please take note of the manifestation of Congressman Joe Jimenez, 1st District, Zamboanga City.
I'll look forward to your additional 5 months in the 5 minutes lang, 5 months tuloy, 5 minutes in the next hearing po. Thank you.
Hanggang election ka na magsasalita, boss, pag 5 months.
5 minutes lang. Sorry. Nasabi ko 5 months. Thank you. And ingat kayo dyan, Mr. Chair. Ingat kayo.
Next to interpolate is Congressman
Arlene Rosas. Wala po. Second call, Congresswoman Arlene Rosas. Next to interpolate is Congressman Adriano Edcas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon to my colleagues and the resource person. I would like to manifest and to put in records that it is clear coming from the statement of former Director Rex Leong and the COA that there was no violation committed under the procurement laws. Ang formally deal ay under po ng Bayanihan 1, isang emergency measure na layong padaliin at pabilisin yung pagbili ng mga PPEs nung nagsisimula pa yung pandemya. So wag po natin yung kontra epil, pera pa noon ang pagkuha ng PPE. So this is all about the law of supply and demand. Na pag yung ang demand mataas, mababa ang supply, natural, mataas talaga ang presyo. So it was then the Congress who gave the President such emergency powers. No? Na alam naman natin na tayo nagbibigay sa kanya ng authorization to exempt the emergency purchases ng executive sa bidding process and procurement law. Pero hindi po ako naniwalang mali ang ginawa natin na yun. Because it was done in the time of emergency. So we can hold our heads high na ginawa natin yun. Dahil kung hindi natin ginawa ang Bayanihan 1, marami po ang mawawalang buhay at magiging palpak ang isang ating COVID-19 response. So to conclude, Mr. Chair, I humbly submit that this representation does not find any violation or anomaly in the formally issue insofar as the facilitation of Bayanihan 1 is concerned. Kung mayroon man hong nakita na ibang issue kagaya ng mga personalidad at nasasangkot, ang korte lamang ang pwedeng humusga at hindi House of the People. So this representation commends you, Mr. Chair, and my colleagues in this committee to preserve the sanctity and sanity of the House of the People. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Chair. Daghang salamat. Respond ko pag-ingon.
Thank you, Congressman Edcas. Next to interpolate is Congressman Carlos Sarate, Caloy Sarate. Hello. Second call, Congressman Sarate. Okay, since already all have consumed the first round of questioning, we now go to the second round. And let me remind the media to be balanced, please. In particular, Rambo Talabong. You may be named Rambo, but let's be fair and balanced. So, D.S. Marcoleta, second round.
Maraming salamat po, Mr. Chair. Yung dati ko pong tinanong kanina sa GPTV, Mr. Chair.
Deputy Executive Director of GPTV.
Yes, Your Honor. But Mr. Chairman, I'm here po.
Good afternoon, Melissa.
Yes po, Mr. Chair.
We need to clarify this. Bago tayo natapos kanina, I was insisting na yung inyong GPPB Circular 01-2020, merong pinanggalingan. Unang pinanggalingan niya, yung GPPB Resolution 6-2020, at ito namang resolution na to, ang pinanggalingan niya, yung item C,
paragraph 5 ng memorandum ng Executive Secretary. Tama po ba?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Your Honor.
Kung po sa Executive or the memo ni Executive Secretary, binabanggit po doon ay craft guidelines for procurement activities that are entirely exempt from RA 9184. There was a phrase.
Yes,
Do you
Your Honor.
understand that? That particular phrase was re-articulated in GPBB Resolution 6-2020. Yun ang sinasabi ko kanina, it was verbatim lifted from that memo, and you recognize that to craft guidelines for procurement that are entirely exempt from RA number 9184. You recognize that?
Yes, Your Honor.
And then later on, gumawa kayo ng NPM number 004-2020 dated 16 April 2020. At doon nga ay nagawa itong GPPB Circular 01-2020. In this circular, Madam, you put this particular qualifying phrase. The procedure is similar to those provided under negotiated procurement under emergency cases under Section 53, Paragraph B of RA 9184 and Section 53.2 of its 2016 revised IRR. In referring to this, Madam, you negated the provision of Bayanihan 1. Ang sabi kasi ng Bayanihan 1, yung RA 9184 is non-applicable. It does not apply. And in the documents I read to you, you recognize that you will have to craft guidelines entirely exempt from RA 9184. Ang sabi mo kanina, pag gumagawa kayo ng guidelines, para linawin. Dito ang ginawa ninyo kabaligtaran. Sinalabo ninyo because you quoted particular sections of 9184 when the law precisely and categorically said you have to dispose of 9184. Yung pagkakabanggit ninyo kasi rito, ito ang ginamit ng Senate Blue Ribbon Committee. That is why they were insisting that you should have also relied on these provisions, whatever are these. Sinabi na nga ng batas, huwag nyo nang gamitin ito sapagkat nagmamadali tayo. Ito yung puntong gusto naming iklaro sa inyo kung bakit gumawa kayo ng guidelines that is inconsistent with the provision of law. Ang guidelines is only an implementing rule. An implementing rule, Madam, cannot go against the mother law. So palagi natin sinasabi, if you are a lawyer, Madam, the spring cannot rise higher than its source. Hindi ba? And that's the jurisprudence. Lim Kite Kong, etc., etc. The Supreme Court already told you about that. Meaning to say, the IRR or any guideline that GPPB will make should not be inconsistent with the mother law. The mother law is Republic Act 11469. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor, if I may.
No, do you understand? Yes or no?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
Kung ganon, bakit kasi nilagyan pa ninyo that this procedure is similar to the blah 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 of 9184? The GPPB is one of the mechanism of 9184. Kaya lang na-confuse dahil nga nilagyan pa ninyo ng ganito eh. Ang sinasabi lang natin, tama naman yung sinabi ng memorandum from the Executive Secretary, you have to do simple rules, reasonably enough to curb corruption. But it should not be too restrictive because we are under an extreme emergency. That is so simple to understand. Ang naging problema ninyo, you even went beyond the wisdom of Congress. Can you imagine, exempt from 9184? GPPB is one of the mechanisms of 9184. Why did you have to put that phrase? Ito ngayon ang nangyari, kaya nung napunta tayo sa Senate, ginamit ng Senate yun. And even COA was insisting on this particular phrase that you included in Circular 01-2020. Yun ang kailangan linawin. Hindi naman sinasabi na kailangan nyo pang gawin yon. Okay, out of diligence, ginamit nyo ITR, mayor's permit, as what is that? The other one, omnibus. Yung OSS mo. That should have been enough eh. So, omnibus one statement, ITR, and mayor's permit. Tama na yun because that already complied with the memorandum of the secretary. Kailangan naman kahit konting diligence, meron naman tayo kahit nagmamadali tayo. But when you put Section 53B of 9184 and 53.2 of the implementing rules of 9184, ginulo mo ang buong pangyayari. In-include mo eh. Sinabi na nga ng batas, it has to be dispensed with. Everything else na gagawin ng Pangulo ay hakbang na kailangan exempted ang 9184. Ito yung nagpapagulo sa atin, Mr. Chair, kaya gusto ko lamang linawin. Okay, salamat po, COA. May I ask the resident COA auditor of PSDBM?
Sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon po. Kayo po ba yung resident auditor ng PSDBM?
I am the supervising auditor.
Oh, so pero may kinalaman po kayo doon sa pagkaka-audit ng transfer ng DOH fund to PSDBM.
Okay, I will call for the auditor, sir. Nandiyan naman siya.
Kung kayo po ay alam din naman ninyo, kayo pwede rin.
Okay, sige po. Okay po.
Yung note po ninyo kasi, merong deficiency on documentation. At binanggit ninyo doon kulang ng memorandum of agreement. Tama po?
Hindi po kami doon. Ang DOH supervising, ang DOH auditing po ang ano nila yon na kulang yung MOA.
O saan po, ano pong participation ninyo doon sa entire COA audit ng 2020 kung hindi po sa MOA ang problema? Saan po kayo pumasok?
Doon po kami sa fund, yun po kami sa inventory management. Yes po.
Inventory management. Nag-aalangan kayo kasi sa dami ng perang na-transfer, baka sakaling hindi kakayanin po. Tama po ba yun?
Kasi po medyo po,
yes po, yung mga notes. Yun po yung notes nyo kasi sa deficiency ng transfer. Documentary deficiency at saka yung inventory management.
Yes po.
Okay. In relation to inventory management, nakita nyo masyadong malaki yung pera. So nagalangan kayo doon sa liquidation process habang nagpo-procure sila. Di ba? Yun ang nasa report nyo eh.
Ang aming pong observation is regarding the face shield and the face mask. Slow moving po nung time na yon. Meron kasing left na may balance pa.
Yun
so,
na po, dahil nga sa laki ng perang itinransfer, nakita nyo baka sakaling hindi kayanin ng mekanismo, yan nga yan, may slow moving and so on and so forth. Ito po yung observation ninyo. Pinapaalala ko lang sa inyo. Di ba?
Ang aming po observation sa PSDBM, kasi at that time po, wala po kaming actual observations regarding the procurement because of the lack of submission of the contracts. So we
wala pa pala kayong actual observation pero nakuha na po ng dyaryo Kaya nga po tayo nagkagulo-gulo dahil sa observation ninyo na
kaya po
nakuha
wala-
ng dyaryo.
Opo, wala po kaming sinabing overpricing, wala po kaming tungkol sa ang aming observation po is regarding the absence of coordination between the different divisions because of the inventory management, lack of inventory management system. Yung
Yun.
po na namin.
Tama po yun.
The
Kagaya po
observation.
ng auditor ng resident auditor ng DOH, sinabi rin niya walang overpricing, walang gross delivery, at walang corruption. Ganun din po yung sinasabi ninyo. Tama po.
We are still currently po looking at this. May ginawa pong, may kinreate pong aming chairman, special audit team to look on this, sir.
Alam po ninyo kasi paiba-iba kayo ng kanina sinabi mo walang overpricing, ngayon meron naman kayong ginagawa. Ano ba talagang totoo?
Hindi po. Kasi po yung at the time, at the end of the year, wala pa po kasing complete sa supporting documents, wala pa pong ganong contracts. We have an observations on that for
Kaya nga po ganito na lang
submissions.
para magkaintindihan tayo. December 31, sarado na po yun. Kaya lang, meron kayo up to June 30, kaya yun ang sinasabi ninyo, na meron kayong nakita na deficiency and so on and so forth. Pero dahil binigyan nyo na 60 days ng DOH, hanggang sa araw na to, September 27, meron pa silang karapatan na mag-ulat sa inyo, ibigay lahat yung kanilang mga accomplishment reports.
Sir, hindi
Teka
po
muna.
ako ang... yes po. Hindi po ako taga DOH. Hindi po ako supervising auditor ng DOH. Supervising auditor po ako ng PS DBM.
Kaya nga po kahit saan po kayong opisina, taga-kuha kayo, hindi ba?
Yes
Ang
po.
sinasabi ko lang, meron nang natapos yung December 31, 2020. Pero dahil ang report nyo hanggang June 30, ito yung subject po doon sa APSI ng DOH. Alam naman ninyo yun kahit paano, hindi ba? Para hindi na tayo magtagal.
Regarding po sa APSI ng DOH, ang
Alam po ninyo na hanggang sa araw na to, September 27, pwede silang mag-comply. Yun lang naman ang punto ron. Tama
yes
po.
Within 60 days
Ang
po.
kaso
upon
lamang po,
transmittal.
even before the 60 days was up, nakuha na po ng dyaryo yung report ninyo, meron kayong mga conclusion dyan na napakaraming ninyong napakaraming sinabi na deficient ang DOH, hindi tama ang pagkakagasta and so on and so forth. Samantalang meron sila hanggang sa araw na ito para isumiti sa inyo ang mga report na maaaring makapag-explain lahat doon sa inyong naunang observation. Yun po yung punto. Ngayon, madam, kayo po ay nasa PSDBM.
Yes po.
Alam po ninyo sa Bayanihan 1, the President will render a weekly report to Congress. Did you know that?
Yes po.
Alam niyo po yun as auditor, di ba?
Yes po.
Nung i-transfer po yung pera ng DOH sa DBM, it was covered by the report of the President. I think it was the 5th report, dated April 23, 2020. Nakita nyo na po nung araw na yon na nagkaroon na po ng SARO, okay, na-transfer na po yung pera sa PSBBM. Alam po ninyo yon, di ba?
Yes po, alam po namin transfer.
Kung sakali pong meron kayong pag-aalanganin sapagkat napakalaking pera no, baka hindi naman magasta ng mabilisan sapagkat hinihingi talaga mabilisan ng paggasta. Bakit naman hindi nyo kaagad tiningnan? At the time that you had the first opportunity to look into this, that was April 23, 2020. Bakit kinakailangan pang lumitaw nung June para pagpiestahan po ng mga dyaryo?
At the time po, wala pa po kaming supporting documents.
So yun po yung problema ninyo, madam. Ganito po kaya. Ang COA kasi, ang default mode ninyo sa auditing is always post-audit.
Yes po.
Di ba?
Yes.
Ano po ba yung legal basis ng post-audit ng COA? Bakit puro kayo post-audit?
Hindi ko po masasabi yan.
Hindi mo alam, di ba?
Yes po.
Okay, hindi mo alam. Does the State Code of the Philippines, State Audit Code of the Philippines, which is Presidential Decree 1445, provide a post-audit scheme for COA? Hindi mo rin alam, madam, di ba? Hindi mo rin alam.
Opo.
Oo. Kung halimbawa, ma'am, puro kayo post-audit, palagi yung nare-report, maraming kapalpakan dito, maraming anomalya dito, maraming corruption dito, corruption doon. Pero huli na ang lahat sapagkat post-audit ka eh. Tama po. Ibig sabihin, yung anomalya, nandyan na, naganap na, nanakaw na yung pera. Pero wala kang magagawa sapagkat ang post-audit mo, huli na. Yung ulat mo na lang. Sa bayan, ganito po nangyari. Tama.
We are doing that because...
Sandali lang. Oo. Okay. Nakalagay po sa ating saligang batas na kinakailangan yung i-prevent yung tinatawag nating IUEEU. Alam mo ba yung IUEEU?
Opo. Irregular, extravagant, irregular, extravagant,
excessive, and unconscionable. Tama? IUEEU.
Sir, disbursement.
Oo nga. IUEEU. Irregular, unauthorized, excessive,
unauthorized, yes po.
Extravagant, unconscionable. Tama?
Yes po. Yes, sir.
Paano mo prevent yun, madam? Kung palagi kang post-audit?
Kasi po, ang
tanong ko sa iyo, how can you prevent irregular, unauthorized, unconscionable, extravagant, and excessive expenditures of government money if you are always on the post-audit mode? Can there be prevention under that condition? Yes or no?
Yes, sir. Pero kasi ang COA po...
Paano mo nga ipiprevent kung palagi kang nasa huli? Yung ulat mo na lang eh. O sige, para maintindihan mo, madam, ganito.
Kasi
Kunwari,
po,
meron
fiscal
kang...
responsibility po, rest upon
Tama po
the
yun, pero
agency
tapos na po, tapos na yung project, tapos na yung fiscal year. Pero i-report mo na lang na merong nangyari dito, may anomalya doon, corruption dito, corruption, ganito. Lahat yun. I-report mo. Tama?
Yes po.
Okay. Meron kang security guard. Nag-hire ka. Kaya mo hinari yung security guard, kailangan bantayan ang kaligtasan ng pamilya mo, buhay nyo, at mga propriedades. Kasi naman ang tungkulin ng security guard. Tama ba?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Kayo po ang security guard kung ang pag-uusapan ay yung kaban ng bayan at ang paggamit ng pera ng bayan. Tama po ba ako? Tama?
Yes, Chairman. Yes.
Okay. Kung sakaling yung security guard po ninyo, buong magdamag, natulog siya. Tulog. Kinabukasan, pumunta po siya sa inyo. Dala-dala po niya isang makapal na papel, ulat, comprehensive. Madam Auditor, sabi niya, ito po ang ninakaw sa atin. Nilista niya in detail. Ito po, lahat po ng kasangkapan natin, nilimas po, yung 2 kotse nakuha, lahat po ng pati po yung bunga ng ating mangga, nilimas po. Napakaganda po ang pagkaka-report niya. Matutuwa po ba kayo o hindi? Matutuwa kayo sa report niya?
Hindi po.
Hindi ka matutuwa sapagkat aanin ko yung report na to. Ang tungkulin mo magbantay ka. Dito ka mas effective, sasabihin mo sa kanya. Kaya kita hinire, hindi lamang para magulat ka sa akin. Mas importante, bantayan mo ang mga mihoras ko, propriedades, lahat ng dapat na mabantayan. Yun ang tungkulin mo. Hindi mo ba siya tatanggalin, madam? Madam?
Yes. Yes.
Tatanggalin mo siya, di ba?
Yes, sir.
Yun ang sinasabi ko sa COA. Kayo po ang tagabantay ng pera ng bayan. Kung palagi na lamang po kayong nasa huli, yun ang sinasabi ko, kamukha nito, hindi po sana tayo nalagay dito eh. Ibig ko sabihin, maging proactive naman kayo. Alam po ba
10
yung
minutes.
nakasulat?
10 minutes.
Nakasulat sa ating saligang batas? If the audited agency, if the control system of an audited agency is inadequate, hindi po ba ang COA ay gagawa ng paraan to institute tentative measures and even pre-audit to correct the deficiency? It is in the Constitution. Will you agree?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yes, sir. Tama na po. Ito naman po yung sagot nyo. Yun lang ang sinasabi ko. Kailangan linawin po natin ito. I have only 3 minutes. May I go to Attorney Leong, please?
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Are you familiar with the privileged speech rendered by former Senator Joker Arroyo in sometime in 2014, which was published in the Philippine Star on September 4, 2014. Are you familiar with that?
I cannot remember it, Your Honor.
Okay. In that particular privileged speech, published in the Philippine Star, he said that the person summoned to appear before the committee, Senate Blue Ribbon Committee, are subjected to punishing interrogation and end up publicly humiliated or even detained if sanctioned for contempt. He also said that the public, after viewing the spectacle of a nationally televised hearing, are left hanging and confused because the BRC, meaning the Blue Ribbon Committee, does not prepare a committee report. It is like a judge who hears a case but does not render a decision. Can you recall that?
I think I heard that, Your Honor.
The then Senate President argued that the hearings of the Blue Ribbon Committee are not a judicial proceeding, nor are they criminal litigations. And Senator Arroyo said, if that is so, it stands to reason that he should conduct its hearing with liberality, not with harshness. Attorney Leong, the good senator, who was a libertarian, a maverick, a champion of civil rights, compared the military commission under the dreaded martial rule of former President Ferdinand Marcos and the Blue Ribbon Committee. Did you know what he said? He said, mas maganda pa kanyang umarap ka sa military commission during the time of martial law. Because the accused, or in the case of the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee, will have the right to argue his case. Before the military commission, he can even question the objectivity and impartiality of the commissioners in the military commission. And he further said that the accused, like the former Senator Ninoy Aquino, was able to hire his own counsel to argue his case before the military commission until he was able to question the objectivity of all the members of the commission. Kayang natira tatlo na lang and they cannot proceed. Why am I asking you about this? Because the Blue Ribbon Committee of the Senate will not allow you. The respondent cannot argue. His counsel is limited to just, telling him or her his right. But that's all. Anong sabi pa ni former Senator Joe Arroyo? Sabi niya, the rules of the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee is one for Ripley's believe it or not. Do you know why, Attorney Leo?
Why, Your Honor, Mr.
Kasi
Chairman?
kung ikukumpara mo dito sa amin, kami, magkakaroon kami ng quorum pag meron kaming majority. Alam mo ba sa kanila, what requires a quorum? The presence of the chairman and only one board member. Despite the fact that the membership is 21. They can cite a respondent or a resource person in contempt. Yung chairman lang and another member. And they can detain him. Just the chairman and one member. Alam mo ba kung anong tunay na pangalan ng Blue Ribbon Committee?
Hindi po, Your Honor.
Well, ang talagang pangalan niya ang pangalan niya ay Committee on Accountability of Public Officers and Investigation. Meaning to say, ang kanyang jurisdiction, public officers. Sino ba tinutugis nila ngayon? Ang formally ba, are these people public officials?
No, Mr. Chairman.
What are they?
Private citizens, Mr. Chairman.
Oh. Alam mo ba, Atty. Leong, that of all the committees in the Senate, tanging-tangi lang ang Blue Ribbon Committee na merong seal. You didn't know about that. Meron silang seal, separate from the seal of the Philippine Senate. Did you know about that?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, nakalagay pa ron. Among others, meron silang nakalagay na motto. Do you know what that motto is?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Hindi mo alam yung motto? Veritas liberavit, boss. Medyo mabigat yun, Latin yun, pare. The truth shall set you free. Palagay mo, they're looking for the truth. Public officers ang kanilang ang dapat na iniimbestigahan. And they take the origins ng kanilang inquiry on Article 6, Section 1, last paragraph. Section 6, Section Article 5. Ano ba naman ito? Section 21, Article 6 of the Philippine Constitution. Yun ang basis ng inquiry. Maski yung sa amin, gano'n ang basis. In aid of legislation. And in Article 6, Section 1, last paragraph ng kanilang rules, Atty. Leong, nakasulat ang ganito. The rights of persons appearing in or affected by such inquiries shall be respected. Meron din kaming ganitong provision, Atty. Leong. But in the House of Representatives, we maintain that. We respect all respondents and resource persons appearing before us. Ito pa ang masakit, Atty. Leong. Did you know that under Article 5, Section 3, last paragraph of their own rules, ang sabi nila ito, where evidence of malfeasance, misfeasance, and nonfeasance is uncovered in the course of the committee's investigation, the matter may be referred to the Ombudsman or the Department of Justice or any appropriate investigative agency as the case may be. They have uncovered, sabi nila, some anomalies or shadow of anomalies. O bakit hindi nila ipinapasa sa ombudsman or the Department of Justice? Alam mo kung bakit? Hindi naman public officials itong mga ito. So pwede kang pumunta sa fiscal na lang, di ba? Because these are private persons who might have committed violations of our law. Maybe, maybe not. Ito po sa Atty. Leong, ha? Dito sa aming Blue Ribbon Committee sa House, meron kaming right against self-incrimination. Wala doon sa Senate. Alam mo nakalagay doon? Article 6, Section 5, Paragraph C, Paragraph 2. No person can refuse to testify or be placed under both an affirmation or answer questions before an incriminatory question is asked. So kinakailangan, sasagot ka. At kung mapansin mo merong incriminatory element, sabi niya, his invocation of such right does not itself excuse him from his duty to give testimony. As a lawyer, Atty. Leong, the right against self-incrimination is protected by Section 17, Article 3 of our Constitution. Ang sinasabi rito, no person shall be compelled to be a witness against himself. This is the basis of the right against self-incrimination. But in the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee, they do not respect that. Mas mataas siya sa Constitution. Because ang sabi niya, his invocation, kahit in-invoke mo na, his invocation of such right does not by itself excuse him from his duty to give testimony. Ito pang mabigat. In such case, the committee, by a majority vote of the members present, there being a quorum, shall determine whether the right has been properly invoked. You imagine that. Only a few members of the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee
3 minutes.
can claim that you have the right to invoke your right for self-incrimination. Ganito kabigat, ganito kalaki ang power nila. Kaya, nakakapanakot sila. Kaya, meron silang ikinulong. Because their answers would depend on whether or not jives with the kind of answers that they anticipated. Kapag kaya sagot mo, malayo doon sa gusto nilang dapat mong isagot, makukontempt ka. At pag nag-i-explain ka, kagaya ng ginawa mo before us, you will be acting like you are lecturing against them and you will be branded arrogant at maaaring ikulong ka rin nila. Ganun po kalaki ang puwersa na kanilang pinakikita. At kung makikita nyo sa amin, kami binibigyan namin kayo lahat ng tsansa na makasagot. Yung preface, the preface of the Blue Ribbon Committee ruling, ito nakalagay. By virtue of Section 21 of Article 6 of the Constitution of the Philippines and pursuant to Rules 10 and 11 of the Rules of the Senate, the following rules are hereby adopted. Ibig sabihin talaga, lahat ito ay nanggagaling doon sa constitutional provision under Section 21, Article 6. Hindi ka lalampas doon. You cannot go beyond the power granted to you by the Constitution. But they can ask every question, all they wanted, kahit na the rights of persons appearing thereby or affected by such inquiries shall be respected. At they will determine whether your answers are correct or wrong. They will determine whether or not you have the right to invoke the right against self-incrimination. Kaya tama yung sinabi ni Senator Joker Arroyo. Mas masahol pa kanya yung rules ng Senate Blue Ribbon Committee than the rules of the Military Commission under Ferdinand Marcos. Hindi po ako nagsabi yan. I am quoting the speech quoted by the Philippine Star in 2014. And Senator Joker Arroyo became chairman of the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee for 7 years. And he lamented gravely the kind of rules that they are using as of today. In fact, he moved that these rules will be revisited. Pero hindi po nangyari. They're still using this until today. Salamat, Atty. Leong, for your attention. At sana'y mapag-isipan mo lahat yung binanggit ko tungkol sa rules ng Senate Blue Ribbon Committee. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker Marcoleta. Before we end, I'd like to inform everyone that the subpoena ad testificandum has been approved by the majority of members present, and it will be signed and routed to the Speaker's office. That Ms. Mago, if she is fearing from hiding, she can appear via Zoom in her location. We just require that her presence to ferret out the truth. We, amid the allegations that our committee is one-sided, if we are one-sided, we will not anymore invite Ms. Mago. Hence, we will just leave her to be quiet in the darkness. But we want her here to know the whole truth. And it was unanimously approved by both sides, the majority and the minority. As there are no other matters for discussion, I move for adjournment of the meeting. The next meeting is on October 4, 11 a.m. via Zoom only. Is there any motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chair.
Second the motion, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, DS West Gatchalian and DS Marcoleta. The meeting is now adjourned. Maraming salamat po sa inyong pagkakaisa sa mga gawain ng Kongreso. Manatili po tayong ligtas sa ating mga tahanan. Magandang hapon po. The meeting is adjourned.